meeting for the February meeting of the CB1 Transportation Committee. I am our chair, Jess Coleman. Our chair, Betty Kay, is joining us online. Let's get right to it because we're starting late. Sorry about that, everyone. There's our agenda. We'll get started off with EDC giving us a presentation on Blue Highways. We're excited to hear about that. Is EDC in the room?
Yeah.
Hey, people.
Yeah, just a couple.
All right. We'll give the floor to you. Introduce yourselves and we'll get started.
Great, thank you, Brennan. My name is Tara Dess. I'm with EDC's Government and Community Relations team. I cover our transportation portfolio, so you've seen me here for helicopter. Going to be back here on Blue Highways, also relates to the downtown Skyport site. But we have a large team with us. We're joined by DOT, Dutch X, and Matrix, so we can cover all parts of our plans around the Blue Highways Action Plan, some upcoming pilots that happened, and the downtown Skyport Blue Highway design. Before we jump right in, I do want to say, I know there's conversations around Friday Seaport. There was a workshop earlier this week. I believe we'll be back here presenting on that. There have been some questions about how Blue Highways connect to Friday Seaport. Really, this is how Blue Highways has a lot of milestones coming up the next few years. So that's why you'll see a lot of work happening, really ramping up now, leading to the next few years. But as we coordinate with the longer term plans for Friday Seaport, we're adjusting and figuring out how to make sure that our sites that we're building out are corresponding to what those plans are. Great. So with that, I'll pass it to Chris.
Great. We can go to the next slide. Carrie and I are going to co-present, giving an overview on Blue Highways.
You guys want to control the slides?
That'd be great. So just this arrow forward.
Nifty little internet.
Great. So we're going to give an overview of what is Blue Highways. The Blue Highways Action Plan. We've brought about a dozen copies. So if anyone wants one, feel free to grab one. It's also available on the EDC website. And then we'll talk about pilots and test demonstrations and give an update on the development of the downtown Skyport Blue Highways micro freight landing specifically. So I'll turn it over to Carrie to where do I point in? Just
anywhere. It's Bluetooth.
Okay, great. I'll give it to Carrie.
Sure. Actually, I want to do a quick introduction of the individuals on our team. So we have Taylor Takahashi, who is the Blue Highways Private Ferry Coordinator for DOT. We have Moon Jain, who is the Deputy Director of the Ferry Operations. We have Kumar Hussain, who is the Director of Freight Mobility. I'm Carrie Gillespie. I'm the Sustainable Freight Program Lead on this team. We have Pete Sheridan, who is the Manhattan Borough Commissioner. Borough Fair, sorry.
Planet.
We got a promotion. I have promoted you. And then I will let Austin introduce himself because he is also part of our presentation.
Hi there. I'm Austin Faird. I'm the Director of Safety over at Dutch X. And I'm joined by Peter Ebright, our General Counsel, and Marcus Food, one of our co-founders. And it'd be nice to see you again, Jesse. We met at Charlie's.
Yes, we did. Yes, nice to see you.
All right.
Nice to see all of you.
I will get started by giving an overview on the Blue Highways program in general. The overarching goals of the Blue Highways program is the one overarching goal is to improve quality of life in New York City. We're doing that by shifting freight movement away from trucks, by using waterborne freight for the middle mile. This is also coupled with last mile delivery on cargo bikes, which is zero emission and has a low footprint and is efficient. These strategies combined will reduce local and regional traffic, improve air quality, and promote safe streets. And how are we going about doing this? We're activating existing landings and building infrastructure on the waterfront. We're also working directly with the industry to understand needs and challenges. We're supporting regulatory coordination for easy adoption. We are moving municipal bulk by water and looking for more opportunities to do this. So leading by example. And we are aiming to reduce emissions and improve air quality. So we are pursuing alternative modes like cargo bikes and encouraging vessel operators to explore fuel alternatives and electrification. Oh, wait, I went the wrong way.
Let's check this out.
Okay. So the reason we're seeking this solution is because we have seen rapid growth in delivery. Delivery demand in New York City, and the demand is only predicted to grow. We know the roadways are full, trucks are polluting the air, the roads are expensive to maintain, and crowded streets can cause safety concerns. Moving freight on our waterways for short sea shipping is a solution for these problems. The waterways were a useful method for transporting goods before our dependence on trucks. With a large enough vessel, we can replace 15 box trucks with one ferry route. With dedicated freight vessels and ferries that carry freight and cargo bike delivery, we can move a portion of the truck traffic off of the roadways. I'm gonna hand it back to Chris to finish up on the overview and then the action plan, and we can pause for questions after that.
Great, thanks, Carrie. So Blue Highways, it's one solution to address the fact that most of the goods coming in internationally, as well as domestically, about $250 billion worth of goods come into the Jersey side of the Hudson. And they're trying to reach consumers, 11 million of them, including folks on Long Island, on the east of the Hudson. And there's really only a few crossings. Most goods come over our bridges, so the GW and the Verrazano Bridge service 25,000 trucks a day. A much smaller number go through the tunnel. So this is a congested system, somewhat fragile system, and we're trying to add resiliency and redundancy to that system. So Blue Highways is New York City's brand for what the world calls short sea shipping. The federal government will sometimes call marine highways. And we think of Blue Highways as having 3 service lines or 3 verticals. There is micro freight, and that is putting cargo bikes or the back of a cargo bike, just the container, onto a ferry vessel and delivering parcels, or in some cases, food and beverage, as we're looking to do with connecting the Hunts Point food distributors with a microfreight solution to their end customers in Manhattan and Brooklyn and other dense neighborhoods. Containerized freight. We look at DSNY as kind of being the original genesis of Blue Highways. In 2006, they containerized municipal solid waste. And unbeknownst to so many of us, that has reduced thousands of truck trips per day from New York City streets. And so we really look to that solution that they did 20 years ago, and they're currently going through a refresh of the solid waste master plan as something that was really beneficial to New York City. And what we're looking to do today is help them move the needle on that, but then also containerize food deliveries that currently go into Port Newark, bring them into BMT, and have a barge solution going up to Hunts Point. That's not what we're here to talk about today. We're primarily looking at microfreight, but that's just some additional background. And then bulk freight. This is the one that's in, it's very economically feasible. It exists in pretty large quantity today because when goods are heavy and when they don't mind moving slowly, like aggregate, building materials, logs, you can put them on a barge. One barge in some cases can replace 50 trucks. And that takes a lot of trucks off the road, takes a lot of emissions and wear and tear off the road. And that's, we're looking to just increase the amount of aggregate that is being moved by waterways. So each of these service lines has distinct vessel types. With microfreight, we found that it works better on ferries because ferries, unlike barges, they move under their own propulsion. They can maneuver in and out of smaller landings easier, and they're faster. And there is a benefit to being able to do that Hudson River crossing quickly. And then with containerized freight and bulk freight, we're looking at barges and slightly different loading and unloading operations. So this is kind of a simplified version of what we call the dominant truck-based supply chain today. Think of goods coming in from international suppliers, coming into a port, put on a tractor trailer, being brought to a regional distribution center a little bit closer to where the end user would use it, and then put on a box truck to be delivered to someone's home or business last mile. We're looking to replace that middle mile barge or that middle mile tractor trailer with a barge or ferry. Even if you use a diesel powered ferry, you're still cutting emissions just from economies of scale with putting all of those containers onto a barge or ferry. So we get questions about that sometimes about, are we looking at electric solutions? And that's what we're looking at kind of longer term. The industry is making that transition, but a lot of the pilots are happening on traditional ferries as they're trying to prove proof of concept, and then eventually make that transition to an electrified, more sustainable solution. And then the last mile being done on cargo bikes to a customer's home or to a business. Cargo bikes as a delivery solution work best, and this is why we're here today, in neighborhoods that are very dense, have a lot of congestion, and are adjacent to the water or can be reached from a landing relatively easily. A cargo bike is more maneuverable than a box truck. It doesn't need to deal with double parking issues quite as often. And because the customers are more tightly packed, isn't stopping as often, or I should say, is stopping in kind of, sometimes one cargo bike could service a whole building. Dutch-X can tell you more about that. But really the takeaway here is if you're in a dense neighborhood, near a landing, that's really the sweet spot for a Blue Highway solution. We're standing on the shoulders of giants and people who have worked on this type of project for decades. We're building on the 2006 Solid Waste Master Plan that DSNY put out, the Delivery Green Plan, and Freight NYC, and then this Blue Highway Action Plan today. We'll cover the highlights that pertain to this community board, but we were really excited to release maps of sites that we have under consideration, and in some cases are actively advancing projects on, and timelines. In the public sector, we're not always able to give you a timeline. We're very happy to give you a timeline of our activation. And then analysis of routes, vessels, and landings, and some of the takeaways from our research. And just one quick note on that is one of our big takeaways is that goods want to move over from New Jersey to dense neighborhoods on ferries. 30 to 45-minute routes are kind of the sweet spot there. And we detail a little bit more of the findings from our research and our conversations from RFEI that we put out in 2023 in the back of the action plan. This is a joint DOT EDC effort. As you see from the folks who are here today, our 4 pillars are increasing micromobility use, connecting Blue Highways with all of the upland micromobility work that Carrie and Huma's team and the folks throughout DOT are working on with micromobility, building waterfront infrastructure. So that's where EDC comes in many cases, as well as DOT ferry landings, supporting the industry. It's not going to work if the economics don't work, and it's not going to work if we don't work hand in hand with industry and leveraging the policy tools at our disposal to make this work. A little bit more about the agency roles. It's very much a Venn diagram with some overlap. EDC a little bit more on the waterfront side, DOT a little bit more on the upland side, but again, a lot of overlap. EDC doing some of the workforce development pilots, DOT doing a little bit more on the transportation regulation side, but very much overlapping and complementary roles. This is a map in the Blue Highways Action Plan. The sites that we're most excited about, downtown Skyport here today, that we're talking about. This is going to be the first fit for purpose, built for purpose, Blue Highways landing. And we'll detail a little bit more of that in the latter section of this presentation. The Brooklyn Marine Terminal, which you've seen a lot of press about, But at least, from EDC, we're very excited about. And then the Hunts Point Marine Terminal, which is the former site of the Vernon Sea Bait prison barge, which we got towed away in record time, announcing it in June and towing it away in November. And it's in a scrapyard in Louisiana right now, getting decommissioned. Here is our timeline. I won't go into all of this, but what we're shooting for is Q4 2027, potentially very early 2028 for the completion and opening of the downtown Skyport Blue Highways micro freight facility. And we'll talk more about that in the rest of the presentation. And I'll turn it back over to Carrie and DutchX to talk about the pilots.
Thanks, Chris. And let's just pause here for a second. If you have a question about the program as a whole, we're going to get into the specifics of the activity that's going on in CB1. But if you want any if you have any general questions, let me know.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I have a question about the aggregates program. So I love the fact that aggregates can get to where they need to go, but don't you have to then have infrastructure built to offload it from the barge and then?
Yeah, so what we're doing at Hunts Point, the Fulton Fish Market,
Yeah,
they have a southern portion of their parking lot that's waterfront adjacent. They have partnered with ConAg Global,
right.
ag meaning aggregate, and they have temporary infrastructure in place where it's so temporary that it's really just a materials handler on shore pulling stuff off of a barge that is not a stationary barge. It's a barge that comes in. And so there's no permanent infrastructure, and they were able to get that up and running in a few months. And in parallel, we are helping them go through the process of permitting and getting environmental approvals for permanent infrastructure, and we expect that to take about a year. Yeah.
And then how does it then go from, and then we'll get back to the main CB1 thing, but like if you're gonna move aggregates on the river and barges that I saw on the website,
Yeah.
then that aggregate then needs to get redistributed into trucks or something to get to building sites, right? So are we taking that process and putting it along the shores of Manhattan? Like where does that?
Yeah, I believe, and I don't know exactly where this is, but I believe ConAg has a facility very close to that landing, and that's why they were interested in partnering with the Fulton Fish Market. So there's still a truck trip involved, but it's much shorter mileage than if you were to drive from upstate New York and there's a quarry there. Yeah.
Okay. But it's not gonna, we aren't gonna be taking aggregate barges, putting them at Pier 57 or 79, and then having trucks unload aggregate from barges there. I like the head.
I don't see a world in which that's happening. I think there are limited cases where when we're doing a big construction project,
Hudson Yards, for example.
yeah, then it is advantageous to temporarily set up something like that. But
But it's not the intention to move things wholesale on the barges and then have these staging areas along the waterfront of Manhattan to.
No, I think our focus for, Manhattan and Brooklyn, certain sites aside, is the micro freight vertical. Yeah,
Okay, I'll let you get to that. I was just curious about that
yeah, sure.
large freight infrastructure and what the impact might, with limited space, what the demands might ultimately lean on, which is our greenways. And we want to make sure that we don't set in motion some sort of blue highway infrastructure that's going to then be in conflict with our need for public space.
Yeah, there's definitely only certain areas of New York City where the aggregate movement makes sense. We're not gonna put it all.
And would Blue Highways be available only to certain organizations that you partner with or certain companies that you partner with? Like, would you partner with Amazon or UPS?
So they have to be a willing partner. And I think we are designing it to be for the micro freight vertical, downtown Skyport will name an operator, and that operator will be responsible for choosing the rules of the road. But our plan is to design it so that it's not just going to one company, that you know, an airport terminal might be run by Delta, but it's gonna have like multiple airlines that can service it, something like analogous to that.
And will the company have to like agree to use cargo bikes or micromobility for the last mile? Or what's stopping them from driving a truck up and just doing it that way?
I mean, I would turn this over to Dutch X for why they're excited to work with us, but right now, we're using more carrots rather than sticks with our policy tools.
Yeah.
I think it's above my pay grade to decide, you know, like to require this type of thing. But you know, right now we're trying to get people excited about Blue Highways, because I think for a long time it's been a chicken or the egg thing where industries said we might do this if there are landings available to us, and government has been like, well, we might do this if industry's interested, and so we're trying to move kind of in concert to break that chicken or the egg cycle.
Okay, yeah. There's,
And I'll add, like, in this pilot phase, the partners we're partnering with, we've kind of let them know this is the model that we're interested in. And everyone is very enthusiastic. I think they know that if they're going to participate in Blue Highways, that this is part of it, having to do the last mile. With a cargo bike or low or no emissions vehicle is also possible.
okay.
I'll answer your question. Everybody doesn't know me, I'm the co-founder of Dutch X. If you take the waterfront, well, especially on the island of Manhattan, commercial vehicles are not allowed on the FDR West Side Highway. So by loading it into a truck, not an option. That's a
Yeah, it's a good point. Gotcha. All right.
Okay, I will dive into the pilots and demonstrations that are more specifically relevant to CBD. So the Blue Highways Action Plan also lays out a plan to implement pilots in the short term, has a plan to evaluate in the medium term, and also provides information on landside planning. I will get into the details of our pilot program, but first I will explain how demonstrations pave the way for pilots. So we've done a handful of demonstrations at many different landings in order to get a better understanding of operations so we can start implementing pilot routes. You can see pictures of different demonstrations here. Obviously, you all know that we had the demonstration that landed at Pier 16 recently and came from Fulton Fish Market. That is number one in the photos, but we're also, those demonstrations also happened Pier 79. We had one from Governor's Island to Atlantic Basin. These are a one-off test of a potential route and partnership. You can see what we have tested. You can see we have tested many landings, many partners in a variety of use cases and routes. These tests have helped us hone in the model and see what works best for New York City. And then when it comes specifically to the Pier 16 delivery demonstration that happened in December, this kind of shows the model, or was a demonstration of a model that we are interested in doing. So that ferry vessel to cargo bike for the last mile is what we really ended up landing on after all of these test runs. That's what we landed on in the action plan. And the point of this was to test the viability of the Blue Highways concept for the Fulton Fish Market route. And yes, they tested it. They landed at Pier 16. The details are still yet to come. They might choose a different landing, a different set of partners might come together. It's not an ongoing route, but they hope for it to be. So once that does happen, we will reach out to you and let you know that there's an ongoing pilot route going on. So I just wanted to give you that information. And then for more information on how we're conceptualizing pilots, sorry, pilots are a low volume, regular service route that is easy to implement. This is why we're starting with using DOT ferry landings. So you look at that map, there's orange dots, those are NYC DOT ferry landings. These are all active or available for pilot routes right now. We have other like additional sites based on operational feasibility and partner needs can be explored, but those 4 are the ones that are open for business, and that includes Pier 11, which is in CD. The city's role is the licensing and regulatory, both on the water and on the roadways. DOT owns the waterfront landings. The city is collecting data and will do pilot evaluations in the medium term ahead of Blue Highway's dedicated assets going online. And then it's the industry's role, which is why we have industry partners here, to operate the vessels, do the logistical coordination, partner with businesses, and do the operations of micromobility. Oh yeah, and I wanted to say that we have started one ongoing pilot route already. DutchX is a part of that route. They're partnered with New York Waterways, and it is from Red Hook to Pier 79. And so far, so good. Operationally, everything is a success. We're welcoming questions about that. And we are here to announce that there is a planned stop at Pier 11. That is TBD when it will start, but something like end of February or so. I'm going to hand it to Austin to give you more details on that.
I'll just keep it and then I'll
Okay, good.
go back.
Okay, yeah, no problem.
Next slide.
Oh, sorry.
I'll reintroduce ourselves for anyone who might have joined late. I'm Austin Baird. I'm the Director of Safety at DutchX, and we're joined by Peter Ebright, our General Counsel, and Marcus Food, our co-founder. We specialize in zero emission last mile logistics. We're a carrier with a focus on same and next day delivery. We made a commitment to lower impact delivery with the largest electric cargo bike fleet in the United States. These bikes are speed capped to 12 miles per hour. They're company owned. They're maintained and operated by W-2 employees, and they're supported by a safety operation that trains every rider, audits their behavior, tracks incidents and trends, and responds to concerns. Through our zero emission efforts, we remove over 2.3 million metric tons of carbon dioxide emissions annually. In 2025, we made 3 million deliveries by cargo bike. Next slide. So we use Blue Highways to remove vans from Manhattan, reducing congestion, emissions, and tire particle pollution. Congestion pricing is just one factor encouraging us to seek alternatives to driving into the city. The economics are better as well. The time difference is substantial by water or truck to Weston Town or downtown Manhattan even. This enables us to serve our clients and end customers better and cheaper. We're proud to revitalize New York City's port history with this pilot. Next slide. So, for the Pier 11 plan, each cargo bike is going to be a 1-to-1 replacement of an electric van from our fleet. So that's an electric van that's not in your neighborhood. From the project launch in December to today, New York Waterways has been servicing Pier 29 with 1 vessel. Our company DutchX is operating 5 e-cargo bike routes per day with 68 to 80 parcels per bike, equating to up to 400 parcels per day delivered by bike. This would be a similar application at Pier 11. If we do any expansion, we'd see multiple vessel trips, duplicating that current operation across different time slots, activating what we refer to as wave dispatching. And this would happen in mid to late February at Pier 11. And our bike delivery zone for this pilot would be 23rd Street and below. And our goal is to service most of Manhattan via vessel and cargo bike. Current service is Monday through Friday, and we're scheduled for off-peak times outside of the normal commuter schedule. And we'll also add that it's a goal of the company to transition the movement of goods, not just from Brooklyn to Manhattan via the ferry systems, but actually from New Jersey to to Manhattan. So we want to cut out that leg as well. Next slide. So this would be the loading area. We would use one of the gangways for the bow loading from the ferries, and then we're using carts that go on the ferry. So those carts then are moved onto the ferry system. We transload from those carts into our cargo bikes. The carts go back on the ferry, and then the cargo bikes with their operators will walk down out from Pier 11, and then they will begin their routes.
So this is going like right, there are a lot of people there, right? I mean, during the day.
So that's also why the plan is for off-peak hours for them. And then the bikers will begin the route. So next slide. So we're committed to safety. I want to reiterate that. We speed cap all of our equipment below the 12 mile per hour, below the 50 mile per hour speed cap that's set for this type of equipment. They're all pedal assist only. There are no pure throttle e-bikes that we operate. All of our employees are W-2, which means that none of them are independent contractors that, you don't know what their insurance status or any of that is going to be like. We train them, and then we also do roving safety audits. So we will see where people are on the map, and we'll go to where they are and make sure that they're operating properly. And if you have any feedback, if you see one of our operators that is operating unsafely, you can write to us at community@dutchx.com. I'm also happy to share my cell phone with anyone in the room.
Great, thank you, Austin. I'm just gonna go into what our metrics of success are for the pilot. As we collect data, we are assessing the pilot success in real time, but also plan to aggregate the data and evaluate the program as more pilot routes come online. Truck trip reduction is our North Star, but we are also looking at operational impacts on the water and in the right of way, efficiency, safety, environmental impacts, and the costs for businesses and for the city. We plan to do the holistic evaluation ahead of meeting current assets coming online. We will consider which routes and services are valuable and get a better understanding of the city's needs and the industry's needs for the program. And for the city's next steps, obviously we have the pilot launch coming at Pier 11. We will reach out to the community board ahead of the launch when we have firmed up a specific date. We will continue to work on, or we will collect data and do the pilot evaluation. And then now we are already kicking off planning for, to accommodate increased cargo bike activity in the area. This includes traffic calming measures, wider bike lanes, bike boulevards, micro hubs, cargo bike corrals, and just, internal coordination with all other DOT parties to address the changes of inactivities. So that's what we're doing, and I'm sure you have questions. Oh.
Anyone want to start? All right.
Go ahead.
Hi, I think it's wonderful that we utilize our waterfront access. This is an island and the choke points are the bridges and tunnels and other freight restrictions. I'm really glad that we utilize it. Though the concern for me is I want these vehicles, these e-bikes, these commercial e-bikes to operate safely. I know there may be plans, the company will always have plans, but it should be standard. Like we need standard rules to ensure that these commercial e-bike vehicles, they have, they're tested for, that they can brake, that they have headlights, they have turn signals, because they will be, mixing among traffic of other vehicles. Also, they need to know the rules of the road. I think they need driver licenses like everyone else, so that if you're going to mix with all types of vehicular traffic, you have to know the rules of the road. And there's also accountability. Like, for example, we'll use Amazon as an example, because I see them the most. They run red lights with impunity. Since these bikes or commercial e-bikes, they won't have anything to, like a license plate. There really is no official regulation. I'm sure the company will want the operators to adhere to their rules, but it's self-enforcement doesn't work. There needs to be rules and regs that applies to everyone, as well as education. The other concern is with the blue highways. I think it's great, as I said, I really do, because we can't just rely on roads. However, I don't want it to be where only a select few, one or two vendors have access to these ports, because then you're creating barriers to entry. Because right now the highways and the bridges, you just have to get a vehicle. You don't have to get permission from a firm to operate it. So I just hope you keep it, open market, more or less.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll address the safety concerns first, and I'll pass it to you guys after I say something. But, so recently, we worked on this Do You Deliver Cargo Bike Training Guide, which like aggregates all of the rules for cargo bikes. So you can take a look at that. And although we don't have licenses for the cyclists, which is something we've thought about and talked about internally, but that's not.
Don't bring that up,
We're
don't
going.
bring that up here.
I take that back, but, so there is a push to regulate businesses who operate on like cyclists or using cyclists. So we actually do have like regulations in terms of IDs for each cyclist, but it's in order to keep people anonymized, it's like a number that's on the cargo bike, and then it's associated with, or a food delivery bike as well. And then they also have like an ID with that number. And they have to submit a roster to DOT that we can look at and verify.
And they're required to do training.
Okay.
And they are required to do this training.
Okay, but then why are the rules different for them and self-regulation when it should be the same if we're operating on the same road? That's the point. They have to follow the same. Thank you for this. I will read this, but there should be the same. They have to follow the same training standards as everyone else, and they will be sharing the road with vehicles and people, so they have to know what the traffic rules are. And I'm sure this is helpful. It goes towards the goal, but there's no standard for ensuring operators of vehicles are aware and qualified to operate on public roads.
So the standards are higher for the cargo bikes. So they have the rules, the bike rules, and then they have more rules on top of that. And then we end up working with companies like Dutch X who have so many safety measures in place. Like they do 12 miles per hour instead of 15 miles per hour. They track the cyclists for bad behavior.
But that's self-enforcement. That doesn't work. It doesn't work. Yeah.
It's beyond the scope
Okay.
of what they can.
But the point is that
Criminal
they have.
regime you want for bike.
No, I don't want that. Just want fairness. I just want fairness because
Are
if
you comparing to drivers?
No.
You're saying that you want the same level of training of a license.
well, it doesn't have to be the same equivalent, but they got to know what the rules are. Of course, it's different for actually they're all motor vehicles if you really think about it. But for the commercial e-bikes, it should be a different standard, but it has to be where they're instructed on the same rules of the road. The other example is, I'll just use Amazon because they're the most prevalent. I've seen their commercial e-bikes block crosswalks. I've seen them block bus stops. So with this scenario, if it becomes more prevalent, whichever company has it, they're going to do the same because they know that they will not be ticketed by the New York City, the traffic enforcement agents. And they shouldn't just rely upon self-enforcement. Yeah.
And we are also one of the providers who does deliveries for Amazon. And I understand absolutely your concern. I agree. I live, by the way, here in the neighborhood. So I walk there, but, so I understand absolutely what the concern is regarding this. The effort we are starting in 2 weeks from now instead of a 2-day training program, because that's the reality, but for years, we're going to a 4-day training. And yes, we are of course one individual company, but we're also working very closely with DOT, but also for example with Amazon. We have been testing most of the bike models with Amazon. If it's the one they did in Brooklyn, if it's the one they did on, what is it, 50th Street, to also see what is the safety of the vehicle, but it's because it's not just the biker itself, it's also the vehicle. Not all the vehicles are fully tested. It's quite a new kind of operation. I come from a country where we grow up with bikes. In Dutch originally, that's also why the company is called Dutch X. I rode a bike before I could even walk. But that all being said is, as Austin also mentioned, we have every single day. I don't want to call them enforcers, but we have every single day guys out on the street who are watching what our guys are doing. Do we have guys who go and park at the bus stop? I can never say no because I'm sure.
Appreciate that, yep.
But I do say if we get caught or we get sometimes I get a picture, I even get pictures from the DOT sometimes and say, what's happening here? Like blocking the sidewalk. You should not do it. I cannot agree. So from our perspective, and also that's why we have an email address open and why Austin is willing to share his own phone number even. Now, we're okay now. We will take immediate action because for us, as well as the community, as well as the safety of the biker. But if I look at operations with vehicles itself, we operate at the moment partly downtown with events. How many times our events are, or ours, or our friend, I don't like the word competitors, but other companies like ours are blocking the roads where people are standing, honking, in the current weather conditions, operations are running longer, or it's with UPS, FedEx, us, whoever it is out there. So these honking can also be at 7, 8, 9 at night, but should not be, but it does happen. We all have also within the vehicle side, we have the same, and I see us, competitors of us, also stopping at the doing providing a delivery. I see them stopping here on Broadway at the moment where there's still some ice and snow out there. Where bus lane is already quite hard to ride on, so they're already more inside, and even there they're blocking it. So at the end you reduce almost to no lanes available and you see traffic showing up. So yes, I do believe that we can all do a better job. And we're really working very, very hard on this.
Okay.
The vehicles also taking away.
Yeah, let's.
Yes, I agree.
Let's get back to Blue Highways. Cody.
I like what you said about wider bike lanes, because I feel like, looking ahead into the crystal ball, I think this is going to explode as a mode of delivery. I don't feel as if our infrastructure, our bike lane infrastructure, as a cyclist, I don't feel it's as woefully unprepared. In other words, we need wider bike lanes where we're dedicated to cargo bikes and also regular cyclists, or at least, wider lanes, because it's right. I mean, I see this really taking off, and as a cyclist, I would hate to see our bike lanes become just cargo bike lanes. And so, because they're big and they're kind of, I'm on my little bike, going by. It's kind of intimidating. And I encountered an Amazon cargo bike on the Brooklyn Bridge bike path like about a month and a half ago. I sent it to our department transport committee chair. And it was kind of like, are you kidding me? On this narrow, barely passes mustard wide bike lane?
Yeah, we ended up receiving that.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah. But it is something, like I hope that the city is planning for, sort of aggressively.
Yeah, I mean, part of what I'm excited about with cargo bikes, or one element, is we can push for the wider bike lanes with the activity that's going to impact the cyclists as like recreational cyclists and commuter cyclists as well. This is all good for everyone, as long as you're co-cycling, I guess. But like, there's a great overlap there. These are not antagonistic.
Right.
Paul also said that, you should keep pushing because this is nascent. It is something that is emerging here and DOT can't justify like putting these 9-foot bike lanes all across the city when there's only 300 of this type of vehicle on the road in Manhattan today.
Right.
So keep advocating for things and also like dream big, like maybe we need a dedicated lane for non-motorized transportation, like people on skateboards or pedal bikes.
I love it.
And then also a dedicated lane for things like cargo bikes and people on e-bikes and e-scooters.
Sure.
So keep pushing.
Okay.
So I have some,
Keep pedaling.
I have some specific questions for whoever can answer them. Cause I need to be educated on shipping logistics here, I think. Okay, so I order some crap I don't need from Amazon. It shows up in Newark at a port somewhere. What entity is bringing that theoretically to Pier 11 or Pier 6 or whatever it is? Well, who's the entity that's doing that?
Well, that's not with Amazon currently.
So the way we current,
Right.
I can mention the client that we are running the pilot with, which is Sephora.
Who? Okay, yeah.
We are picking every single day in Maryland, that burner warehouses, bringing it to Brooklyn. That's the current operation.
You are.
We are.
Okay.
Our goal is to, when we're working with, also doing pick up Waterway, who's opening hopefully soon, their vessel operation out of Bayonne, to start even though bringing this truck more easily to Brooklyn. We have a sortation center and the Marine Terminal on the waterfronts.
Mhm.
So overnight, so this is what's happening overnight, by the way, it's not during the day. So this truck arrives in the night. So they're arriving in Brooklyn around 10:30, 11 at night. Also there, we're trying as much as we can to reduce the traffic around it. Overnight, we are sorting and routing and then sorting all our parcels. From there, everything goes already pre-sorted into totes. The totes are getting on a rack, the rack gets rolled onto the vessel. The vessel arrives for now at the current moment.
So who operates the vessel?
The operator of the vessel is New York Waterway.
Is New York Waterway. And who would it be, like, well, if this is completed, how many operators of vessels would there be?
Let's say like this, I know there's interest from almost every, if it's Hornblower with a Rotterdam, if it's Hornblower, NYC Taxi, all of them are quite interested because they believe that, first of all, their business is post-COVID, not anymore the same as it used to be.
And in order to dock or whatever, at a Blue Highways facility, would they need to have an agreement in place with
Yeah.
EDC?
Private ferry license.
Okay. And then it comes off and then goes onto your bikes.
Correct.
Okay.
From then it comes to your apartment.
And you have, okay, got you. And who are you contracting with in order to,
In which way contracting? We're working with companies like, I'm allowed to mention Sephora is one of them, but there are many more. They're large blue chip corps.
okay, and that list would probably expand if this happens, right?
We are, yes.
Okay,
We are, let's say like this, it is a pilot, Monday to Friday. We started December 10th, 11th, 10th, oh yeah, 11th. We started December 10th. And the way it looks at the moment is that for us, if we started with 5 bikes. We're currently operating 8 or 9 bikes. And it keeps expanding to, of course, more bikes because that's at the end where we are with our goals. As an example, one of the pushbacks sometimes we are getting, and it's not pushback, but questions we are getting is like, but wait, does that mean that if in the third situation, Pier 79, it's going to be 30 guys at one time who are coming there with their bike, picking up the loads? So as Austin mentioned, our technology, what we have been building out ourselves, and we're using it also in many of our operations, is we're doing having a wave dispatch, but ultimately mean that the biker will arrive in waves of 5 or 7. It really depends on the amount of parking spots or loading spots we're having. And this can keep flowing through an X amount of time. Of course, we're trying to reduce that time also as much as possible. But that's the way we have been working on the wave scheduling, not to get too large of a group.
Interesting. Okay, that's cool. Can cargo bikes park in a loading zone?
Actually, I'm gonna defer to my colleagues.
I was like, yeah.
Pass that.
Park bikes can park wherever a truck or a commercial vehicle.
Anyone else in the room?
But they can actually park anywhere, right? It doesn't have to be just commercial. Anywhere there's a spot, they can park.
That's true.
Well,
Yes, okay.
Not on the side.
Well, officially, right.
So if y'all want to hear some history, that was allowed in 2018, that cargo bikes could officially park in the loading area. And the rollout that was a little bit clunky. The local precinct didn't necessarily hear that right away, but we kept getting the cops calling us by someone with a chaplain's placard on their vehicle. And then it took a couple weeks for that worked itself out. So we're really glad to have.
you're saying there was enforcement of illegal placards in 2019?
No.
No, the placard was.
That would be ancient. Yeah. Okay, I think we have time. Yeah, go ahead.
Just a question on the data sharing, or do you guys have like, I know you have IDs on each of the bikes, right? So you would know if, so Eric's concerned about when they're running traffic lights, et cetera, you would have that data.
Right.
And you guys are getting all the data. Will that be publicly available? Will we have that live data to watch the pilot as it rolls out, or
Data,
of where the carts are going, where the bikes are going?
and not like,
Not that we're gonna monitor their red light running, but like the data sharing, how publicly
we would
available.
summarize the data for public consumption. We wouldn't provide, because that's some of it's.
I think we
Like
just
for
anonymize this just as like a
Right.
policy too.
Correct.
Well, anonymization for sure, but for City Bike, we have like all that great data that we can look at. At some point, will we have a similar type?
And are you looking for like where the cargo bikes are delivering to?
Yeah, like what routes are being served, what
That's also
communities?
very private to the company, they're like Dutch X or Amazon. They also do not want that public. So we would have to anonymize in some way, but
What about traffic infractions, to be more specific?
That's public.
Okay.
But they don't
But
get
it's
any.
just that you guys are doing data share, like,
Yes,
so
we
if the
would be
data
collecting
sharing
data.
is just with you.
yes, DOT is able to.
It'd be good to have transparency at some point into like, to make sure that we're getting some equitable
Yeah, we
service.
can talk about what level of data you want and how to
Yeah.
anonymize it.
That'd be great.
I know you want, I one more, quickly, 2 seconds.
Please.
For us, I would love if there is more law enforcement from a company perspective. It sounds maybe weird. But to give us also more visibility, but bikers come to us with experience. We're doing a road test before they get out. It's a whole process. I don't want to go there. But the safety of the biker itself is also important. It's not even from a liability of a company, which is of course also for us as a company key, but we want to make sure that our bikers are safe. And some of them are taking more risks than others, which is absolutely against any of our policies.
Somehow every discussion here at this table descends into, there's no enforcement of traffic violations in New York City. So we will stipulate that's the case and then move on to Tammy. Tammy?
Hey, thanks a lot. Yeah. Thanks. I apologize. I've got a whole bunch of questions and I was at another meeting. So, I guess one of my questions is for EDC with the pilot launch of Pier 11, how this relates to possibilities and changes of the FIDA Seaport Master Plan, because that only has the launch at 6 and we were told 11 was not possible. Did you cover that yet? And by the way, I have 3 questions.
High level 5-day super we did cover, but can reiterate, so the timeline for Blue Highways is a lot more near term than 5-day Seaport. So we're looking at, by the later, I guess, in the next couple of years, the later 2020s, but I guess we're already there. In the next couple of years, this coming online further, we actually have one more section after this on the downtown Skyport specifically, where we talk about those timelines as well. So that's, we have pilots right now. We'll probably be looking at a more permanent facility in the next 2 years. Friday Seaport wouldn't start construction until the early 2030s at best. The way that we are constructing infrastructure around Blue Highways is such that it's a movable structure so that it can be moved and correspond with the 5A Seaport plans, but that's probably not happening for a
But
decade.
that understood, that doesn't answer my question though. And I apologize for being very directed on this. Friday Seaport Master Plan told us that there was no Blue Highways to happen at Pier 11, that it couldn't happen on the commuter piers or anywhere near the commuter piers. We had asked for substantial change in how Pier 11 and Pier 6 integrated with Blue Highways expansion, et cetera, and changes to that site. Are you telling me now that actually we'll be looking at changes because Blue Highways will be rolled out and kept at Pier 11 as well as 6?
That's what they're telling us.
So the pilot that we're talking about at Pier 11 is just something in the more near term. As in terms of longer term, we don't have any specific plans just yet, but there would be opportunities to further diligence that, but I'll talk to Chris to go into more detail on that.
Yeah, and the way that the pilot for Pier 11 dovetails with the downtown Skyport microfreight piers, the goal is, as you correctly said, with the current waves of 5 bikes off peak, it doesn't conflict with passenger usage. But at scale, there could be challenges, and that's why after the downtown Skyport microfreight pier is opened up, the goal is to shift all of the microfreight Blue Highways operations to downtown Skyport's microfreight pier. So to answer your question, the FIDI Seaport team may have been talking about the long-term plan for microfreight in this portion of New York City, and the long-term plan is for that to be at the downtown Skyport pier. And so in this ideal world, it shifts after a year and a half, 2 years from this pilot phase to a permanent phase at the downtown Skyport.
Also, just to chime in as an operator, it is not desirable for us to be walking bikes the length of Pier 11. So we're eager for this shift as well.
Is there a reason why it's not happening?
Well, it's not built now. So downtown Skyport, the microfreight pier, we're going through the process of designing it and fabricating the barge, and that would be the Q4 2027, potentially Q1 2028 opening date.
We want to go through those slides real quick.
Yeah, we can start on that portion of the presentation, so that might, I think, answer some questions, if that's okay, and then maybe take all of the questions at the end.
No, I mean, the rest of them that I have is really about when you're looking at citywide landside planning and the pilot evaluation. The question and all the metrics that we have heard really don't equate to the landside planning that we're looking for. And I'm a little confused. I understand on the large streets, as you have shown here, when driving around Brooklyn, which, love Brooklyn, they have much more narrow streets. And on the narrow streets, even if it's, I'd say 4 lanes wide, like a Broadway, or maybe a Church Street, they've managed to do mixed traffic, which has in itself been traffic calming with less barriers. And you have to drive slower because everyone is sharing the streets. I want to understand why that same kind of conversation is null and void in Manhattan oftentimes, where it is, we widen the bike lanes, we're looking at separate lanes for scooters and things like that. I mean, I'm a little just trying to understand where, as my grandmother used to say, I'm taking my third out of the middle, right? Because she couldn't see real well and driving down the middle of the road. How many places and spaces, when do we get to a point that we actually do shared streets for a larger portion instead of dedicated and barriers? Like, where is there opportunity for shared that would protect those that are not powered, but those that are human powered versus motor powered, right? And that goes to getting any cargo bikes off our greenways, both on the east and west sides, completely off, not allowed on the greenway because those are for human powered vehicles only, like regular bicyclists and a kid who wants to learn how to ride a bike and not run over by any of this.
Yeah, we are looking at exactly that, and we're working with Public Realm and our cycling team to think about Lower Manhattan holistically in terms of what we're calling low traffic neighborhoods and low traffic streets. I think is what you're referring.
Are you
That
looking
is-
to, are you creating low traffic streets or looking to get to low traffic streets? Are you taking streets that are, that's something that I don't think the public greatly understands either. Are you looking to
Yeah,
create low?
Ahead of time, but the Public Realm team and us are looking at that concept of like slower streets, ways to accommodate all of the modes that you're talking about in areas where there's really no room for a widening of the bike lane. So that is a plan for us in this neighborhood.
And what kind of public input are you taking to create such plans versus just bringing them back to the public?
Yeah, this is something that's very.
Yeah, Tammy, we're getting off topic.
Yeah, this will come to the community board. I don't want to speak out of turn from the team that's leading that, but I just want you to know that that is something that we're.
Tammy, do you have any other specific questions, or because we've still got some slides to get through, so.
On the pilot, I'd love to see how they plan to move it on city streets without using the greenway maps.
Let's finish up the slides. And then we'll get everything at the end. Let's finish up the slides.
Sounds good.
Just get that done.
So Chris, do you want to do the slides or?
I'm gonna tee us up and then turn it over to Matrix.
Chance, there was another question.
I know, let's just get this.
Okay, so just very high level, and then I'll turn it over to Matrix New World Engineering, which is our consulting firm that has been doing a lot of the detailed planning work. This is Pier 6, also known as JRB for its aviation code. It's a pass-supported pier and anchored floating barge. It was competitively RFP'd. A number of respondents responded, and Downtown Skyport LLC was selected. You've interacted with them quite a bit. And we were really excited by their vision of not just the heliport, but also their commitment to Blue Highway landings that facilitate micro freight operations. So I told you a little bit about the timeline, and I'll turn it over to Matrix to talk about kind of this process. But here's the high level timeline between design, barge fabrication that doesn't happen on site, that's off site, pile installation, and then the opening date that we're targeting. But I'll turn it over to Dennis for Matrix and Rachel as well.
Thanks, Chris. Dennis, I'm meeting with Matrix New World, engineer on the project, working with BBC, Skyports, and the DOT team to coordinate structural design and implementation of the barge here at Pier 6. As Chris said, we're looking at an overall timeline here. We're finishing our design in the next month and a half by March, and then moving toward our construction procurement, working within some of the environmental windows that we have for the pile installation, which are fairly restricted and driving most of this before we can get the barge in and hopefully open up by the end of 27 or beginning of 28, depending on how quickly things move in there. A little bit about the overall concept. The base design that we're looking at should feel very familiar to those who rode any of the citywide ferries. It's a larger barge, but with a lot of the same components. Steel barge with a closed hull compartments, solid deck, and some aluminum ramps that will facilitate bow loading, access for repurposed ferries or freight vessels, a variety of different vessels that may come in to service the landing. Some side loading options along the south side there as well. similar monopiles and berthing infrastructure as what we see throughout the citywide, system. Again, very familiar components. From a layout perspective, we're, again, like I said, we're trying to accommodate as wide a range of vessels as possible. Obviously, there's a number of different passenger ferries, in the harbor now. There's a number of different roll-on, roll-off, deck vessels that are being looked at. So our job here is to provide that, flexibility for the future to make sure that operators that are interested in looking, coming in aren't precluded just by the geometry of the site. So again, we've got 2 bow loading slips and 1 side loading slip. You can kind of see a proposed arrangement that we're looking at for how the cargo may temporarily transfer from the vessels to the barge to eventually being picked up by cargo bike on the site here. So we've got 2 gangways that'll connect the barge to the Pier 6 deck, one of them for cargo bikes coming onto the float, where they'll be hooked up to a container or pick up their cargo. And then they'll exit via the north ramp and then out to go on their way and deliver their parcels. As far as the specific micromobility vehicles that we're looking at, right now, we're using the largest possible size from a design perspective, with the understanding that anything smaller than that we can accommodate. But right now, we're using the DOT maximum dimensions just to make sure that, again, any of these operators that are interested in utilizing the system are able to be accommodated with any of that licensing should it go forward. And then from a vessel perspective, again, we're looking at repurposed ferries and similar small to medium-sized passenger vessels, deck barges, roll-on, roll-off vessels that would come up and use side loading slips. Again, the name of the game here is flexibility and making sure that we are able to accommodate as wide a range as we can. And then from an operations and logistics standpoint, there are certain restrictions on what we're considering as far as a maximum amount of micromobility containers. Right now, the assumptions that we're working with here are 3 vessels per day and up to 60 micro containers. So this would, again, not having permanent staging on the facility itself. So those containers are intended to come in and then leave, not necessarily be stored there. Again, working in partnership with Downtown Skyports to make sure we're not occupying any of their heliport space as well. And then from another logistic perspective, key to this whole operation are the current Coast Guard regulations regarding batteries on vessels, and trying to make sure we work within that by, again, bringing the bikes to the cargo at the pier here. So having them pick up cargo on the barge rather than being transported directly on the ferry in this instance. And then a little bit of circulation. Again, this is an overall flow for how we accommodate pedestrians, vehicles, and micromobility vehicles on the pier to make sure that we keep everyone as separate and safe as we can in a rather confined space. So this is all still kind of being worked through with DTS and with DOT. But you can see a pedestrian walkway on the left side of the plan. We'll have vehicular access sort of working its way counterclockwise around those parking spaces, along with the micromobility vehicle sign in a similar fashion. And as far as next steps, again, looking to finalize our design in the next couple of months from a structural perspective, make sure that everything is set to go. Working with PDC to get our plans in and get those approvals, and then on to fabrication and construction.
Okay. Let's go to some of the questions we have online, since they've been patient. Do you know who we have? An emphasis on questions. Let's limit the statements. Do you know who we have?
Tammy, Justine, Pat.
All right, let's go to Pat first.
Okay. So I didn't hear, is this program year round?
We didn't hear that,
Is it
Pat.
year round? Is it year round?
Oh, year round?
Yes, yeah.
So a question I have is, with the snow accumulation that we have now, is it possible that the bikes would not be able to deliver?
So definitely impact our operations. It impacts, cargo van operations, it impacts bike delivery operations. I'd say that the biggest challenge we face in snow is that the bike lanes get filled with snow and they don't get cleared. And so it's less safe for our operators. So it's not ideal, but, we do have to operate. So we've had no interruption. We had interruption the first days of the very heavy snow. That is something that, there are plans in place that certain triggers, weather triggers, cause. But, we've been operating. It's not easy, but we've been doing it.
Okay. All right, so you have plans in place though if we continue to have this type of snowfall and accumulation. The other question I had was, oh, it took so long, I forgot the other questions now. Oh, I'm sorry. So in terms of the data that you're collecting, will you also be collecting things like 311 complaints and data from the police if they've had an issue with these bikes?
Correct.
I didn't hear.
Yes.
Yes, so 311 complaints? Okay, thank you.
Justine?
Thanks so much. Question about the Skyport. So how are the packages or whatever it is coming in to Manhattan to the Skyport by ferry? No, right? Explain that for me, please.
Yeah, they're coming in by ferry.
Okay,
And then they are moved onto the barge and then they're picked up by the cargo bikes.
okay, so at the Skyport too. So are any of these ferries going to be electric? What about the noise factor? And the complaints of, I mean, I know downtown in Battery Park City at the Brookfield Ferry Terminal, it's been, it's a nightmare of noise. And a lot of those are New York ferries. What is the deal with that? Where do we stand with electric ferries and noise?
Yeah, so I can answer that and then I'll pass it off to Matrix. So right now, it's still more sustainable than trucks, I will say, to use a diesel ferry than to use a truck, just because of the economies of scale and where the industry is now is it's going through a transition period where we're figuring out some of the challenges of charging and all of that, but we're looking into the feasibility of having the barge designed so that in the future it could accommodate electric ferry charging. It's kind of like, are you going to be the first mover and buy the first Prius, or are you going to wait a little bit as the technology evolves? And we're looking to pick a middle road where we are able to accommodate future innovations in that space.
Okay, and a timeline for that, if you have one?
I mean, the timeline would be the same as the barge being put into place. The barge at downtown Skyport, should we find that it's economically feasible to have that future orientation for battery space, that's the same timeline. And then as the battery space evolves and electric ferries are purchased by private operators, we would then work to put in that electrical infrastructure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Betty?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to clarify that the complaints that there were about ferries, because it was out of my building, were very specific ones about very specific ferries, about very specific units in the building. It was a very specific, it can't be generalized. And none of the complaints were against New York City Ferry for noise. So I don't want you to get overly sensitive to what people are complaining about.
Great,
Um,
thank you.
Tammy?
Okay,
Is that all right?
nope, I'm good. So can you tell me what the operational hours are for the ferries for loading and unloading per day? And is it a 7-day-a-week operation? I have 3 questions, not statements. Thank you, Mr. Coleman.
Very welcome, Madam Chair.
Is that for Pier 11 or?
Yeah, are you asking about for now or future state?
Both.
Okay, so for now, there is one delivery once a day.
We can take.
Yeah, I'll turn it over to Dutch X for that.
So we're only doing off-peak, delivery, so off-peak from commuter hours. That's when the vessel operator, has the vessels and the landings available for us. And it also makes sense within the DOT's goal of not impacting, passenger movement on the ferries. So it's what makes sense. It's what we're doing right now. And it's also the boundary that's sort of been set by DOT. None of this is really set in place, but if it does become set in place, we'll operate within that. If it's open-ended and we see more volume, there could be, ferry operations at various hours throughout the day.
And the plan, the second part, please, the operational plan for hours and days at the Skyport.
Yeah, well, it will be a dedicated facility that won't intermingle with passenger operations, so we'll be able to have a wider window. We haven't set those. That'll be up to the city family to set the policy constraints, and then the operator to choose if they want to further limit those hours. We would come to the community board and share what that plan is as it develops.
So I guess my next question based on that and similarly goes back to both you and EDC. There were environmental goals and restrictions set for Skyport and for that zone, which is why we're looking forward to, they were one of the ones who were chosen for the move to EV tolls, right? So how does this comport with the environmental goals for the operations at Skyport, which is looking to electrify for any of their moving vehicles? And I use this saying that the ferries, I hear what you're saying about if and when, but Governor's Island now has electric ferry. They are the first on the waterway to do that in New York. So how can we encourage you to be able to operate like Governor's Island with electric? And are you guaranteeing that the barges and everything that are being built now will be able to be fabricated with the possibility of electric? Because if it's not built, you can't do it. That's what EDC told us a couple of years ago.
Right. I mean, to that last point, we're trying to thread the needle of anticipating future developments of battery technology without getting out ahead of ourselves and building something that in a few years will not be sufficient. So that's on the barge side. On the vessel side, I will say one of the challenges of Blue Highways is the economics. Truck-based transportation in certain routes is still cheaper than moving it by water, and piling on additional requirements now while this is a nascent sort of sub-industry, I think would harm the overall goal of decreasing emissions, because right now they're working with some of the vessel operators are working with kind of repurposed, secondhand, former passenger ferries that are being repurposed for freight purposes. They're able to get them, relatively cheaply to build out the proof of concept and then move to an electric model. And I think if we were to push that sooner rather than later, you would kind of kill the economics and kill the program before it could get off the ground.
Can you tell us what kind of vehicles we tend to understand based on, for example, what Betty's saying? when you're talking about like the boats, what kind of tiers the boats are and things like that. And how long are they idling, diesel boats idling there for loading and unloading? Because it's almost sounding to me like you're trading one form of pollution for another if we're talking about what Betty so eloquently put, the bad boats, which are the ones that they want to get rid of. And these seem to be potentially the ones you're saying you're purchasing because they're looking to move those products out of, greater circulation. So are we trading one environmental for another? And what type of boats are we talking about?
I mean, I can.
And how long are you idling with the engines at that spot?
Let me just play air traffic control and I'll turn it over to Dutch X for the idling time and Matrix for the types of vehicles. And I will apologize in advance. I have a personal commitment. I'll need to leave in a couple minutes, but just wanted to turn
You
it
don't
over.
want to be with us all night?
So, to speak to the idling time, currently, the transfer is very rapid. It's usually under 10 minutes. And so between 5 to 20 minutes of idling time would be a fair estimation. And that we expect to remain current. The more time that is idling, the more expensive everything is. So we actually are motivated to hone our operations so that idling time is limited.
Just to add on to that as well, one of the reasons that at a lot of the city ferry landings and a lot of the ferry landings throughout the harbor that you see vessels idling is because there's not necessarily infrastructure in place to keep the vessel tied up to the barge and connected with the bow loader ramps that they're using while passengers are boarding and unloading. So one of the things that we're doing is we are putting bollards and mooring bits on the barge with the intent that if vessels are coming in with more cargo that's going to take more time to load and unload, you have that capability to tie up, tighten the lines, and then not have to leave the engines running if they're going to be sitting there.
Thank you. Tammy, anything else? Thank you, appreciate it.
I
Good,
think the
okay.
question, they need to let us know which boats they're using. We know what the Frank Sinatra, the Robert Rowe, and all the boats that had the vibrations and the decibel levels and everything else that was going on from those kinds of boats that we are very familiar with. And we'd like to know what kind of boats you're purchasing for this.
Yeah, that's right. Felt like a statement, Tammy, but okay.
It's a question. I'm looking for the info.
Mitch, and then we'll cut it off.
Get
Good.
her hand up most fast.
I just a point of information kind of question.
Mitch,
So I-
Carrie, done.
Yeah, I was just noticing on the last mile delivery innovations, some of it sounds really good. And some of them seem to be maybe not legal in New York City, such as the unmanned aerial vehicles, which are the drones that I think are not around here. That I'm assuming that would be more for the rural areas.
I know a little bit about the drone project. The drones will not be above
No, because I'm just looking at some of the innovations here.
It's really gonna be waterfront to waterfront. I'm testing.
Drones are being tested, but they're not
Yeah.
legal in any major way.
Okay, I might be wrong. I thought they were in this area. They weren't
Yeah.
supposed to.
As far as I know, no,
They're very limited.
No, not even limited. I thought they were not allowed, but I could be wrong. So I just wanted to
The
bring it
Port
up.
Authority did just do a test, so there is some
Okay.
controllability.
And then the other thing, delivery robot, the fully autonomous small load sidewalk, yeah, like sidewalk or road-based, delivery robots. So they're looking to possibly have that in the future on the sidewalks. I'm just reading what's.
No, it's true. That one is gonna be hard to.
Right. But the thing is, the fact that it's here means that, and when I say you, I mean you personally, that you would like to have that, or the intentions, if you can have that. So I just wanted to bring that up because, well, the first thing, the cargo cycles, trailers, compact electric assist bike lanes, I don't think anybody has a problem with that. But some of these other things that seems that, once again, you in general are pushing for, are things that maybe haven't been brought up. And if you could look on page 38,
It's gonna be a question.
what?
Are we getting to a question?
We're not in court, right?
We're at 7:30, so let's get to the question. Let's go.
I think that this is just,
I just-
It's all good.
I worked with my EDC partners on this,
Right.
this plan, and from what I understand, looking at it, it's just a box that says what the innovations are generally. Because I know we recently decided we were not gonna allow, e-assist campers. So, yeah, like, we don't, yeah.
So, like I said,
So I don't, like, that's what,
We're not promising.
these are not like ideas or anything.
well, it's definitely an idea.
Kind of.
But it's in the book. I mean, like, it's definitely an idea. I'm not saying it's a bad idea for some areas, but it's definitely an idea, or else you wouldn't have put it in the book.
But I would not say we're pushing for it.
Yeah, we're not.
It's more of an understanding more the
I'm
industry.
just saying what I'm. So, I just wanted to bring that up because I didn't think everybody was aware of it.
Very quick. It says, micro containers. How big are those?
The containers that we're designing the Skyport facility for are 4 foot wide, 8 foot long, which
Wow.
in common is, we're looking at a total unit length. Again, these are just the DOT maximum dimensions for what is allowable in the bike lanes. So we wanted to use that as a starting point for what should our landing be functional for. But I would leave that to the DOT and the see folks from a licensing and, operational perspective.
Is there a weight maximum? A weight.
Follow up,
Yeah.
thank you, Eric.
Yeah, let's get it quickly.
Is there a weight restriction with these containers?
I think mostly we want them to, like, the more that they can carry, the better. Like, I think they're like maxing out eventually, right?
We can speak to that a little bit. There is a restriction to the wattage of the motors. And so that, you can put a lot of weight there, but then you can't carry it. And then also, the more cargo weight that you design for, the more that the total vehicle weight has to go up. And so it really is a trade-off between battery life and battery range and what the motor can actually do. So it's pretty limited by the motors. And I would say, to answer your question, you're looking at gross vehicle weights of these cargo bikes that are probably only around 900 pounds.
Rapid fire, Cody and Brendan, rapid fire.
Brendan
go.
first, because I have my hand first. Limits, the motion to limit discussion to 2 minutes.
All right, good, Cody.
Real quick,
Make him eat those words.
as far as data, do you have any idea at this point what potentially, or what the data is, as far as the impact on overall deliveries? Like 20% of our deliveries are arriving via Blue Highway like cargo bikes, or potentially what it could be. As far as the impact.
It's tough to say because it's very reliant on the operator, right? Like how much is Dutch X going to be able to deliver and the waves and the expansion. So the answer, I guess short answer is no, we don't have it.
It's also a moving target because deliveries are growing. And so, what we say
Percentage of
today,
one,
then
yes.
it's,
The baseline is also changing.
What's your goal?
our goal would be to see everything in Manhattan delivered by a cargo bike near the water. It makes the most sense. for
Replace
us.
UPS trucks with micro containers.
Yeah, UPS has tried a lot of things. UPS has really never gone past like the 1 unit pilot stage. But the more of this that's happening, the more they'll be encouraged to fully commit. The biggest barrier, honestly, is going to be the Postal Service, since they're federal. DOT can't touch them, and they can't even tow them. So.
Well, thank you all so much. That was awesome. I'm really excited about it. And we'll see you soon.
Thank you so much.
Free.
Conversation.
Thanks for bringing all the good information.
Okay, let's move right along.
Could you run that there?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Really appreciate it.
Okay, yeah, we got 2 more items.
Yeah, we're
still.
still going.
I think it's a funny thing to say that.
Yeah, okay, take the conversation into the hallway, please.
Whoa. Excuse me.
So next, turns out we're staying on theme. We're gonna hear about low traffic neighborhoods, which we just heard
Yeah.
is a possibility in connection with Blue Highways. So I will give the floor to Emily from Open Plans.
Thank you.
Thank you for waiting.
Of course.
And
Thank you so much.
Connect to the one. Well,
Hello, everybody.
I have to speak up because
Yeah.
I'd be on camera.
online.
Should I go here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, amazing. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present. My name is Emily Chingay. I am the community organizer at Open Plans. Open Plans is a citywide nonprofit advocating for safer streets and more public spaces in all neighborhoods, working towards a more livable New York City that's safe and joyful for all. So really excited to talk to you all today about low traffic neighborhoods. I know that they mentioned that briefly, which is really exciting to hear that they're exploring that in this neighborhood. But I wanted to dive in deeper onto like what this is about really. I know we're at 7:40, so I will be as brief as possible. But yeah, let me go ahead and get started. Going to start with this quick question. How many cars outside your window do you think are stopping in your neighborhood? Spoiler, it's a lot less than you think. Why is that? So our neighborhood streets have unfortunately become highways because of apps such as Google Maps or Waze. A lot of drivers are now choosing to get off those larger corridors or those highways, and instead they're cutting through our residential streets to save a couple minutes, save maybe 1 or 2 minutes. And these apps are encouraging that. They're encouraging that more cut through traffic. And because of this, our streets are becoming more congested with folks that aren't even driving in the neighborhood, or they're not, shopping at any local businesses. They're not dropping a parent off or a child off at school, anything like that. They are just simply cutting through. We found that 69% of people think that neighborhood streets need to be designed more for pedestrians and their safety than for cars. 65% believe that traffic in their neighborhoods endangers children. And 63% believe that traffic reduces the quality of life in their neighborhood. So New Yorkers know what they want, and they see this every day. They see cars speeding down their residential streets, and they want solutions. So what is a single approach that can solve all of these issues? Low traffic neighborhoods. So this is a neighborhood approach that helps reduce that cut through traffic by redesigning our neighborhoods to focus more on boundary roads, which we'll dive into that in a bit. And then instead of and then this will also promote more modes of transportation. It'll encourage folks to walk more, folks to cycle more, etc. So kind of a win-win for everybody. I do want to emphasize that this does not get rid of, well, it doesn't have to get rid of parking. It just allows for all modes of transportation to travel throughout the neighborhood. So designing an LTN, this is kind of what a sample grid would look like in its current state. And with an LTN, we see that there are a number of changes, and I'll stand up now, sorry. A number of changes that promote safety. We could see that the traffic patterns are changing.
Sorry, you might want to get the pointer because people online can't see what you're pointing to.
Oh.
So at the top, here, let me see. If you want to come over here, you can point to the screen.
Oh, gotcha.
Does that work?
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so we see that there are some diverters here, there are some shared streets, school plazas, etc. Basically just redirecting the traffic so that folks are encouraged to stay on those boundary roads or encouraged to stay on those highways instead of just cutting right through. So this is what the traffic patterns would look like in a sample, in a LTN. As you can see, okay. Basically the patterns are encouraging folks that if you have to go onto one of these residential streets, you stay on, but then you kind of go back to the boundary roads once you're done.
access, there's full access for a cyclist and pedestrian, so that kind of stays the same. In fact, it's much safer for them to kind of get around because the streets are a lot less congested and just quiet and safe for everybody. So this is a closer look at what those diverters look like, opportunities for street trees, and just greenery and beautifying the space. And then it makes it much safer for folks to cross the street as well. This is what a plaza block could look like by a school. Again, more street trees, but much safer for students to get to school or, you know, for parents to drop their kids off, and kind of just a win-win for everybody in the neighborhood. And then a shared space street. This is what that would look like, a chicane, which would allow for cars to still, you know, pass through, but they are encouraged to go slower, and they're able to share the road with cyclists as well. This is already happening worldwide, which is really exciting to see. We've seen it in Germany, in Colombia, in Spain. London has they have an official low traffic neighborhood program that has been really successful there. So we have had the opportunity to speak with many cities and get feedback from them, what's been working and what hasn't been. And this is why we have this campaign that we are sharing with you all today. So some benefits for the neighborhood with that traffic being redirected, we're seeing a lot less congestion, a lot less honking, safer and peaceful for everyone. And I do want to point out this statistic as well, that the traffic on the boundary roads stays pretty much the same. So you would think that maybe all of the traffic is being pushed out to these boundary roads, but really it's drivers that are just choosing to stay on those highways that weren't really ever supposed to drive within the neighborhood anyways, because they weren't stopping out of business, or, you know, they don't live in the neighborhood or anything. So they're just kind of encouraged to stay on those big highways. Makes our streets safer, it slows down cars. There's even a stat that it does reduce crime. And this is because more eyes on the street. People are kind of just all around there watching. And then we also see that air quality has improved. And of course, the noise pollution is a lot better in a low traffic neighborhood. And then it boosts active travel because instead of, you know, choosing to get in your car and weave around a little bit, folks are now instead just choosing to walk to their pharmacy or walk to their grocery store. So it boosts the active travel, which has some great benefits for the neighborhood. Some benefits for the city. LTNs are self-enforcing, so unlike the open streets that we may have seen, we love open streets, of course, but a lot of times open streets rely on volunteers that have to move the barricades. They have to be, you know, moving them at 7 a.m., 9 p.m., etc. These are self-enforcing, so they don't require that. They also don't require to have regular programming all the time. So really it can happen everywhere without a volunteer present. That extra space goes back to the community, so they could be turned into green spaces, parks, street seating, etc. Opportunities for neighbors to gather and build community. They also, with these lower traffic volumes and speeds, we don't need to build that separate bike infrastructure. Everyone can kind of share the road, as you mentioned, those shared streets earlier. So it is pretty cost effective as well because of this. And which actually brings me to my next point. They're inexpensive to implement. A lot of times it really is just some paint, some bollards, planters, and it can happen, you know, DOT already has a lot of these tools in their toolkit, so it can happen really whenever they want to go for it, really. So what LTNs are not, they are not pedestrianization, as we mentioned. Cars can still drive to where they need to go. They can still park wherever needed as well. But I do want to say that while they're not pedestrianization, they do complement a lot of pedestrianization efforts. I'm thinking about those efforts in FIDI or just improving pedestrian safety in Tribeca, for example. I know there's going to be a street redesign, hopefully on Canal Street. So LTNs really complement a lot of this work that DOT is already doing. They, again, do not require removing parking. The model that I showed earlier was kind of, if we were to go from our current state to a scale of like 100% LTN with, an early LTN model, you don't need to you don't need to remove that parking, but you can if you choose to. They do not prohibit vehicle access, so folks can still drive right up to their apartment or to their homes if they need to drop something off or whatnot. They're still able to do all of that in addition to, emergency services, garbage trucks, etc. And then they do not reduce emergency response times, which is a really big win. If anything, it actually improves those emergency response times because there are less cars on the street overall. So what about New York City? As I mentioned, DOT has a lot of these tools in their toolkit already, and we've seen it on 34th Avenue in the Bronx. We've seen it on Sunnyside in Queens with their bike boulevards.
In the Bronx, I didn't hear what you said.
Sorry, Jackson Heights, Queens, Sunnyside, Queens, Bike Boulevard, and then here in the Bronx, they have a slow zone.
Where in the Bronx?
This is Claremont.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And then, they're able to add those diverters, those chicanes, etc. Basically what LTNs do, we've seen around the city, sometimes the DOT will go intersection by intersection, and a community will have to advocate for, one intersection to be redesigned, whereas LTNs really take a holistic look at the neighborhood, and you really feel the impact because it's not just intersection by intersections happening everywhere. So, let's see. Yeah, that kind of wraps up my presentation. I really want to open it up to you all to see how this might benefit your neighborhood, and if it might be, I know there are some pedestrianization efforts right now in 5K, and how this can kind of, how LTNs could work for that as well. Thank you.
Yes, can you go back to that screen of, I guess your, optimal way you would have, your organization would have the street? It was with the street pattern and the arrows?
In the beginning.
Yes.
All the way back. There, right?
Yeah, like here. So, go to the forward one. Yeah, so like this, I see it, but keep in mind that in reality, you could have a lane obstructed. I know in your presentation, you mentioned emergency vehicles, but keep in mind, when they respond, they tend to block the lane, and that's fine, they have to do their job. But if that's done, we need to have flexibility so that people can still travel within their neighborhood. And then also, there's construction, so whatever plan there is, there needs to be some operational flexibility so that if one way is blocked off, then they have another way to go, and not to rely so much on one route to get to their home or exit from their home.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Like, for example, I'm just trying to think of one that would apply, like the one next to the park, on the left side of the park. There's only one way in to that neighborhood, to those 2 blocks. So if that's obstructed for maybe a garbage truck or an ambulance responding to a scene, they're gonna block it off, and the residents will not be able to get to their home. And keep in mind, the pictures shown, I mean, that's optimal with beautiful weather, but just like we had the last few weeks, you have frigid temperatures, you have snow. Sometimes people won't be able to walk, whether they're disabled or it's just too cold for them and their children. So I just want to make sure that the plan always has these into account: inclement weather, physical,
Limitations.
yeah, limitations. Thank you. So, and operational and flexibility for movement. Thank you.
So I mean, I assume that DOT already has some of these tools in their toolkit, like you're saying, and kind of implements these kinds of ideas sometimes. Would you agree with that, Kate? With that leading?
Yeah, we have a lot of these elements already in our toolkit. A lot of them are paint, delineators. We utilize planters and other elements to help expand and protect additional pedestrian space.
But do you use them specifically for the idea of like diverting people away from a?
You know, I think it depends on the location. For example, in Community Board 3, we are planning to install a street improvement project on Avenue B that was based on an open street we had there. One of the benefits of the open street, was reduced traffic, increased pedestrian space, better conditions for cyclists. So building off of that, you know, proven concept of, we know that this is a location that works. We're planning to install sidewalk extensions, additional curb extensions to shorten the crossing. We're installing a one-way conversion so that traffic is, you know, previously two-way is now partially one-way. So elements like that, once we have, I think, a sense from the community that that's where the interest lies, where we're willing to make those changes.
But there's currently no program like where you would look at an area and say, we're gonna look at this area as a potential low traffic neighborhood. Like that doesn't exist right now.
I think as an explicit initiative within the agency, I would say no, but we are constantly looking at different neighborhoods based on the data and the change in usage and needs of how we can implement these changes.
Yeah, and then back to you, Emily, if it was up to you, what would you like to see? Would you like to see DOT have like a formal program where they're saying, we're gonna look at FIDI and implement a low traffic neighborhood, for example?
Yeah, I definitely think that would be ideal. I live in Astoria, for example, and we have seen a number of street improvements that have been amazing. We've even redirected some traffic, which has been great. And so you can really feel those impacts, and it's not happening corner by corner. It's really collective. So I would love to see that. And we've also had several conversations with elected officials, community boards, community groups, and they all kind of want the same thing. They want it to happen on a neighborhood scale instead of piece by piece. So
And is that how it works, like in London, for example, or the other cities, they look at a neighborhood and say, we're gonna transform this
Yes.
together?
yes, let me pull up this map that I shared earlier. This is what it looks like in London right now. Oops, I went too far ahead. So the purple and the blue, they're LTN. So that's kind of how it's broken up right now. And yeah, I think right now they are trying to be very equitable about it. So it's not just going to the folks that are asking for it first. It's really, they're really trying to be holistic about their efforts with this. So yeah.
Interesting, okay. Yeah, this is the kind of thing that when I would, like, my frustration with the Canal Street redesign was like, when I kept saying it feels like we're putting a Band-Aid on the problem. Like, this is the kind of thing I would have liked to see with that, like a real redesign that actually reimagines the way that traffic is coming through that whole corridor, because it really is just to come through right now. And this could deal with it without dealing with all the issues we talked about of like emergency vehicle access and deliveries and everything. So it's kind of the best of both worlds in my book, but I'm just one guy. Who's next?
Yeah, 2 hands on mine.
Okay. Terry.
Well, I'll recommend for you, Jess, the same thing you recommended for me. Less I statements would be fantastic when we're looking for questions. So I have a question for Kate. The last comprehensive pedestrian study that was done for Lower Manhattan was 1997. And that was before the population surge, before World Trade Center campus and the other streets were closed off. And before, quite frankly, micro hubs and delivery bikes and bicycling really became a major form of transit in Manhattan. So it's now 20 years. What potential do we have for a comprehensive Lower Manhattan study? And of course, I'm looking east to west, including Canal, all the way south, that looks at a pedestrian study, not neighborhoods as Jeff's or others are looking at, a large study that we can really see the globalization of connectivity. That's 1 out of 2 questions.
Sure. I think we do strive to look at things holistically when we can and look at neighborhoods and larger in Manhattan when it's possible, when our resources allow. In the case of, the financial district and CB1, kind of like on a larger scale, we are looking at some potential pedestrian improvements that I think we're hoping to bring to you all as kind of a part of the
finite pedestrianization, that the study that the city council funded, we have been, delayed in bringing that to you all. But I think one of the challenges we have is the unique nature and like some of the needs of the streets down here. So we want to, we're working on developing, locations that we can bring to you all, to help improve the pedestrian and traffic experience.
Thank you. My second question goes for the Open Plans team. So Open Plans is also Streets blog and etc. And the question that I always have when we're having these conversations, it does seem that you're well vested with DOT, you're well funded with a singular mission and things like that. And you've got the two organizations that you use to push out your programming and your messaging, which are the two arms, right? And what I don't see often enough, and perhaps this is part of, what the nonprofit can do as a partner with DOT or anyone else, but you use Streets Blogs and Streets USA for reporting. What are you using for gathering individual neighborhood advocacy? Because that's really what's important. It's not about necessarily having your plans pushed into a particular neighborhood, but hearing from the neighborhood the things they want. Everybody wants to be a safe pedestrian in this city, and we want that overall and globally. But what are you doing actively in the neighborhoods, and how are you doing that? And is that data just for you? Is it just for the news cycles? Are you sharing it with DOT? Like, where does that relationship come through?
Yeah, thank you for your question. So first I just want to state that we do, Streets Blog is a sister organization of ours, but they do have their own independent journalism. So we can't really tell them anything, like we can't tell them what to write or anything. That's all on them. And Streets Blog USA is not part of our like sister organization. They're their own entity. And then to your question about what we're doing in neighborhoods, one of the big things that we like to do, of course, is come to community boards and present on different topics. Today we're presenting on low traffic neighborhoods. In the past, we've presented on daylighting. A lot of times we'll just go to these community board meetings and hear from the board members what they are, discussing, ways that we can collaborate with one another. We host social hours, we host roundtables to hear from community members. We attend several, community meetings. And we are also working with local, hyper-local community groups across the city to hear about what they're working on and ways that we can support and elevate their work. So definitely always trying to be in all parts of the city as often as we can, and making sure that everyone's voice is heard and that we're not only supporting pedestrianization efforts or, promoting safer streets, but maybe we're working part with other organizations that might be tenant associations or whatnot. And making sure that we're all kind of working for a more livable New York City, whether it's through housing or through transportation, parks, etc.
Sorry, I looked at the 990 and financial reporting forms, which is where both the organizations are mentioned as being combined, bucketed, sisters, related, et cetera, et cetera. So, I'm only looking at what was on your site. As far as your connection with DOT, can you give a better explanation? Like, do you do studies for DOT? How, DOT is talking about low traffic neighborhoods too. So where is that connection and how well is that, how versed is that?
Yeah, we don't do studies for DOT, but we do create our own reports. We recently released one on school streets and, advocating for more funding for schools across the city to participate in this program. And oftentimes, when we release these reports, we'll share it with the Department of Transportation, for example, or Department of Sanitation and whatnot, and say, hey, we have this great idea, let's chat about it. So our policy team chatted with DOT, I believe last year on low traffic neighborhoods and briefed them on what we're working on. Of course, we are advocates, so we can't really, all we can say is we love this idea and we really want to push for this. How can we elevate this in New York City? But no, we're not doing any studies directly for them.
Well, if there's a way that we can be helpful in getting more community voices out for information, whether it's connecting you when you do a schools thing with the school communities, certainly that's something that we as a community board want to do because we want the voices. Please understand when I'm saying this. I ask the questions because we want the voice of the community first and foremost before a lobbyist or advocates, right? We want to make sure that whatever we're lobbying for as the community board is coming directly through what our local community is asking for and balance the
Definitely.
needs. Thank you.
Agreed. Thank you.
Betty?
Sorry, thank you. This has been real interesting, and I'm glad to hear about always more tools that can be used. Some of them I did recognize from the DOT already, because Kate does share those things with us. And I'm also very excited to hear something's going to be forthcoming about the FIDI Pedestrian First program, because that's been on my list for 6 or 7 years now. But anyway, I wanted to point out too that for people to look at talking about our neighborhoods, and Justine's on here so she can testify, she can be in agreement with me or not. But in fact, there is a street enhancement study, not project, it's not a study, that should be coming out. Is it next month or the month after in Battery Park City Committee?
They haven't decided yet, but one or the other, they're going to do it when they're ready. And you're exactly right. This looks semi-familiar, and that's what struck me. So go ahead. But
Oh, no, a lot of these things are trends that you're seeing internationally. So
Yes.
Emily's right when she spoke about all these international cities doing a lot of the same tools being utilized. But for people who are looking for something what's going on locally, keep your eyes peeled, look out for the agendas coming out, because you're going to see the Battery Park City Street Enhancement Project being announced again. And it's now at 90% designed. So it's pretty formed project that you're going to hear about either next month or the month after at the Battery Park City Committee.
that's correct. Thanks, Betty. That's a good point.
Hello?
That's all
Okay.
for me.
Anyone else in the room?
What are the next steps with Upland?
Yeah, is it, are, 'cause I know like with daylighting, for example, there was a bill, right? Right, there was something very specific. Is there anything specific here that Open Plans is focused on?
We have a template resolution if the board, wants to see LTNs in their neighborhood or requests to be a potential pilot in the future. And I believe I shared that draft resolution. In addition to that, we are just hoping to just have conversations with the community, hoping to have additional conversations with elected officials, community groups, block associations, et cetera. So, if you're part of a block association or a local group that might be interested in a presentation, we're more than happy to present to you all. But right now, since there are no plans for DOT to pilot a program, we're really just spreading the word and letting folks know that this is something they can ask for in their community.
Excellent.
Yeah, Jeff, and may I add that I had considered if people were interested in moving forward with some kind of resolution, I'm open to that. But I would want to hear from more people ideas for how they'd like it implemented. And I think at this time too, since we're going to be seeing something on FIDI from the DOT, and we're going to be hearing something from the Battery Park City Authority in the near future, I think it may serve us well to hear those things over the next few months and then move forward from there with where else.
Yes. Okay, we do have one more question online from John. You can unmute and,
Lord, it's him.
okay.
Can you hear me?
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
there you are. Yes, we can, John.
So Catherine Hughes asked me to attend tonight's meeting since she couldn't. I was involved in the Financial District Neighborhood Association's plan for Make Way for Lower Manhattan. And we spent several years meeting with local residents to develop a plan, and we'd like to present the latest Make Way plan to CB1. Before COVID, FDNA arranged a $500,000 grant from City Hall, which still has not been spent. And we think Commissioner Flynn will be very supportive. And FDNA would like to have a good plan for the 250th anniversary on the 4th of July. And after that lovely presentation, I might add, I'm an architect and urban designer. Working in CB1, I'm the author of Street Design, The Secret to Great Cities and Towns, as well as New York 1900, Metropolitan Architecture and Urbanism with Robert A.M. Stern. And the second edition of Street Design is about to come out. We've written about low traffic neighborhoods in London and the 15 minutes city in Paris. We met with Will Norman, who runs the low traffic neighborhoods. Carlos Moreno has written our new introduction. And FDNA would really like to push ahead with the plan,
That sounds good.
which I think you've all seen.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. We will certainly be, we will be in touch about that because we would love to hear about that. So, and it's on our radar too. So we will be in touch on that. Thank you. I believe we have someone. Oh, it just needs to be here. Okay. If there's nothing else, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay. Onward and upward.
And was your contact information at the end there?
My colleague Talia's contact information is at the end, but I can send an email to you.
Yeah, we can share it.
Oh, that's okay. That's all I did. Okay, great, thanks.
Okay.
No, I have a comment, sorry.
We'll share yours.
Okay.
Thank you,
Yes,
Emily.
please feel free to email me with any questions, any feedback, any suggestions. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
So, okay, all right, last on our agenda is a request on Leonard between Hudson and West Broadway. Are you here to present on this? Is someone online to present on it? Is
Madeline.
Madeline's online?
Yeah.
This
Okay.
is me. Hello.
All right, the floor is yours.
Amy.
I guess I will be dealing with the slides for you, so you can start whenever.
Well, thanks everybody. I'm going to be making this fairly quick. I think it's a good rollover from the presentation that we just had.
Can I interfere for a second? Jess, these are not her slides, so why don't you let her speak and then we'll refer to the slides after. I mean, she gave them to me, but she has no idea what the order of the slides is.
Yeah, I can, to be honest, Leonard Street, we are, zooming out from the discussion you just had about neighborhood and traffic. I agree that the technology has forced larger vehicles and through our street and other streets to get to the tunnel. Anyway, we are a small cobblestone street with very small width compared to some of the streets in Tribeca. And what we're really seeing right now is a lot of congestion issues with parking causing the main problem. And that is really larger trucks are coming down or larger vehicles. And we have two sides of the street parking. And we cannot get that vehicle through. I have an office on the ground floor, and I've been a resident on that street for 16, 17 years. In this image, my office is right near that red car. And most often a truck will come down that street and cannot get through, and everyone will have to reverse. So there's an example of an image I took, right? That's just in the last couple of weeks, I've been documenting more. Every image you see is probably in the last couple of months that I just took them at least once a week. I'm having this happen. Why it impacts me is that I care about my street. I really want to help improve the street, and I'm there on the ground floor. So the only solution in these moments is to reverse all the cars back, and I do that myself to get them out of the street. Sorry?
Sorry, I'm just talking to her.
Oh, okay.
Keep going.
Okay. All right, so to reverse everybody out so they can get through, the vehicle can get out, including that green truck we had to get through, and he only had like an inch on either side, and I helped get him through with another gentleman who helped me. I do this because I care. I don't want vehicles of my friends or other people I know to get damaged, as well as it becomes a honking nightmare. And this is every week. This apparently was a one-side street parking. When they developed across the street there, you'll see on the left of that green building is 15 Leonard. They just got a little bit of no parking now, just near their garages, and then it just became parking. Most of the cars are parked there, a federal government building parking. They just park there, and sometimes at an angle, sticking out. They don't really care where they're parked. I get it. They need parking. It's just if you have a larger truck and quite a large car on opposite sides, you won't get the next big vehicle through, and it's really causing a lot of problems.
Okay, thank you, Madeline. I think Betty, do you want to talk about the specific issue of the parking designations on both sides? Do you want me to go through the slides?
Yeah,
Can I just add one more point to that is why are there semi-trailers coming down? They're coming down from Church Street all the way down, and they go down Hudson, and then they go to the tunnel. I don't know where they go. They go to the highway.
I'm going to get to that. I have answers for a lot of that.
Yeah, Betty, why
I
don't
do
you
think
go
it.
through
You know, I started with your pictures actually blew my mind. I had no idea these trucks were trying to get down these more residential streets in Tribeca. I was shocked.
Yeah.
But if you go to the next one, you'll see some of the information that I got from the DOT as well as from some of the maps. Wait, stop. I'll tell you when to change slides. Thank you. So you see, Madeline did cover what her complaint was. This is how it came to us in the first place. With the request to change the block of Leonard Street between Hudson and West Broadway for parking on only one side was the request. Go to the next one, you'll see, looking at it to see, was that going to be a solution or not? Hey, this is going to go to you because you're going to see some discrepancies here that if nothing else, I'm going to need to alert the DOT to please straighten out their discrepancies because something has wrong information on it. This is from the DOT signs website. And as you can see, the street that they're on Leonard Street, I looked at these signs. Go to the next one. You can get more details about them. Next slide. This sign in particular has a no. You're going to stay put? Okay. There's a no standing anytime, and it's also a truck symbol for some parking. But if you go to the next one, you'll see there's also signage. They say all of it on the south side of the street versus the north side where it really appears to be when you look at Google Maps. But there are 3 different commercial zones for parking along this block as well. Again, this sign website says they're all on the south side. When you see them on Google Maps, you see them more on the north side. When you see what comes from the DOT Manhattan engineers, go on to the next slides. We can see what they had to say. And Kate, if you want to address this, because I know the email came via you.
Sure. So I'm going to have to go back and look at what you mentioned regarding what we have on our website to confirm that. But essentially, when you brought this to us, our borough engineers who oversee the installation, our signage and the record keeping and operations of that. So this was when Zach brought this up. The question was, well, it used to be no standing anytime. Why is it no longer no standing anytime? So there had been a point previously in 2022 where temporary no standing regulations were installed on the street due to construction. But prior to that, it had been a mix of commercial parking and no standing and no parking because of the hydrant and driveway on the block. So that's the previous regulations.
Well, what is it now?
So it's the north side is a mix of commercial parking, no standing, and no parking currently.
So parking's not allowed there.
Except that, as Madeline said, that the parking is the federal enforcement,
illegal.
Well, yeah.
Not even that. It's contractors or people, they just put their big truck on the right and they don't realize, hey, you're next to a big truck on the left, no one's going to get through. They're not thinking and they leave their vehicle.
Because there are a lot of commercial zones, as you saw from those maps.
Yeah, I
would have to double check.
Did you just say that like construction parking or something like that is allowed?
Commercial, there's currently commercial parking is allowed partially on the block, not
Yeah.
the entire stretch.
But I think at nights and weekends, I think is still parking for
Yeah,
neighborhood and
Would
community.
you go to the next slide?
yeah.
Yeah, because Kate can finish up with this.
So we're willing to, install additional no standing anytime on the north side of the street, basically extending, there's no parking, signage, by the hydrant in front of, I think 15 Leonard, so basically extending that, going west to Hudson Street on the north side.
But, okay, but effectively, you can't park there now, right? So we'd be changing it just from you're not allowed to park there to you're not allowed to park there. It's really a placard issue.
Nights and weekends on part of the block.
I know, but that's not really what we're talking about during the day though, really. I mean, like leaving nights aside.
Double check, this would be, from what I understood, this would be a change from what is there currently. It may, that part of the street, I would have to double check,
Yeah,
that would what our borough engineers.
Jeff, if you're gonna no park anytime, then you're taking away.
Well, we'll get.
Wait, just leave that for a second. What I can say, I went down the street on both sides, and it would require what they're ever proposing, because you can see the sign here on the north side of the street, and it's a no standing anytime. So the ones that are on the website can't all be right, or the signs that are actually on the street right now are wrong. Something's wrong because they don't match. They don't match. The engineer's comments match better with what you see on Google Maps and in person, with what the signage is, which is on the north side, not the south side.
I don't know if the no standing any time extends to the end of the block, which would be the change.
Right, and I was gonna say, that was definitely a change. But the sign is on the north side, not the south side, so there's a problem with the website. And it's very clear they're not enforcing, because you see a mix of commercial and privates, where there's supposed to be no parking anytime, or there's supposed to be commercial. There's no enforcement is the bottom line, that's clear. But if you go to the next one, because I want to know, was parking really the whole issue? I still wanted to know, why are these semis on Leonard Street? Because if you look at the close down on the right side, you can start to see some of the damage. Then if you go to the next slide, I took one with a more focus on, we're going to the truck routes first. These are the roads they're supposed to be on, not on Leonard Street. So to get it closer up, the next photo, I put down, it's Varick Street, West Street, because they continue on going southbound, Worth Street going in both directions, and Hudson Street heading northbound or truck routes. And unfortunately for Leonard Street, it's stuck right in the middle, but it's one of the few that is not a truck route. Everything around it is.
Yeah.
So
And
it's
just to-
doing this.
Sure, and just to respond to that, trucks are allowed on local streets that aren't on the truck route if they are making a delivery on that block, or if they're going that way.
None of them are. None of them are.
Those semis aren't. If you go to the next one, see, people want to read the regulations that Kate's talking about.
Ability to that ticket truck.
Yeah, this is, okay.
Okay,
We
so
got
it's
that.
pretty clear these trucks don't belong here. This is pass-through traffic. It is not. It's not.
Can I
local
ask
traffic.
Kate a question?
Yes.
Can I make a recommendation that we get through Betty's slides, because she'll probably kill us, and then hold questions to the end, because there's other questions in the room too.
Granted.
Well, we're almost
So
at the
let's
end
just-
anyway. Yeah, so. Everyone's read this. These are the questions I think really gets down to what I want people to think about, which is why asking questions not a problem. Other people start to think.
So Tammy, let's get your question.
My question for Kate is, can we add clear signage at the end of Leonard that says local deliveries only, limited axles, or anything else like that, that would help. I mean, it's not perfect, but it would certainly help the trucks not, know that this is not a street for them. Whether, I've seen signs that limited axles, local deliveries only, anything like that that exists in the DOT toolkit. So the question is, one, what does exist? Two, can those signs or other types of signs go up? And then how do we get enforcement? I mean, that's really the point here, I believe.
So, yeah, that signage does exist, although I'm not sure if we still use it, because in the last, I believe, 10 to 15 years, DOT has decluttered a lot of the street signage that used to be in use so that drivers are less distracted. So I will have to see if that's an option for installation here. And the second part of your question, enforcement, NYPD is able to ticket for the trucks that are, going, through neighborhood streets that aren't truck routes, if they're not making, stops there. And, if the precinct has capacity, they may be able to assist on this block.
I guess my question really is, if you could get back to us with the signage and what is available to put there, because we've seen it. I know you haven't done much of it, but it does seem like it would be a valuable add to this area, even if it's half the truckers who look, right? Because they're not looking once they're on the road. This is not a truck route. If it does say local deliveries only, it could be more helpful, or the axle limit to protect the cobblestones on the street and the neighbors. Thank you.
I think we need to clarify what's there and what the options are. Right? Does that make sense?
I agree with
Like,
the larger trucks, yes. But even the box trucks get stuck, just as a note, it's all of them. Yeah.
We got you. We agree with you on the problem. It's just, like, I wouldn't be comfortable with a resolution now saying, like, we want it to be all thing when we don't know what it is and we don't really know what the options are. We're unclear right now.
My only note is, because it's a landmark street, I want to be mindful to the neighbors, with a big sign, like, however that it would be happening. Yeah.
The sign would help your problem. You'd rather not have the sign.
No, I'm sure you're going to figure out where that would go, is all I'm saying,
Eric?
Yeah, hi. Can you go back to that slide that shows the street layout? Yeah, thank you. I got a question. Which way does the street traffic go? Does it go north or does it go south?
South.
It goes south. So then why in the DOT proposal do you want to make no standing on the north side? Because if they're coming this way, right? When trucks or large vehicles turn, they need the clearance here. Why would you prohibit the parking on this side? Shouldn't it be on the south side?
So it would be on the farther, like on the other half of the block of Leonard. So like big block on Leonard, and then like going to Hudson. And there's already some existing no standing, no parking on that block. And I was just looking at the map just now while we were talking on Will Street View. So there's no standing anytime mid-block on the north side of Leonard that ends, and then it seems like it's free, like unmarked parking. So it would be getting rid of that, and that would be no standing anytime.
Because if you do the south side, as you said, close to the West Broadway, there's already a long no standing sign, so you'll just be extending it.
I don't think the people are turning. I don't think that's how those trucks are getting there. They're coming down that.
They're coming down past over Church, straight down. They're not turning from West Broadway. They're coming straight down Leonard, where it's wider, and they just keep going towards wherever they're going.
They're avoiding
work,
probably.
Happened the last 20 years.
So, but I think one of the that you won't prevent the trucks from coming across Leonard by removing parking. You'll only prevent those trucks coming on those cobblestones by making it narrower and make it not palatable for those big semis to come through there. So, I don't know about when you say does the postal service and the UPS truck also, is it because the SUV proliferation in our neighborhood? Or is it that it's actually contractor vans that are parked there?
I mean, we're getting all contractor vans there, and then a garbage truck comes down, and I help reverse one the other day, or a snowplow truck, or any other truck. It's just not enough space for that truck plus the two vehicles on either side. And when you're following up from the woman that just did that presentation about, what was it called again?
Low traffic neighborhood.
Yeah. Well, I mean, someone made a point just now about it's almost like you need something to just make it apparent that this street can't take a vehicle that doesn't have this size to get through, or, whatever that is. Because then they wouldn't be able to turn and go straight. They'd have to turn and go on Worth. And,
Okay.
yeah.
There's some more hands, so we're gonna get back to the people in the room. Right?
Yeah.
2 or 3 things. One, definitely empathetic to this issue. I hate noise and honking, but if I'm being honest, it's not to blame you. I think this is partially a self-inflicted wound because the construction trucks are there because the construction is happening right there. So there's a lot of construction happening on that end, and that's why they're there. So I think that's part of the problem is that there are these buildings right there that are under construction more just recently.
Well, I'm talking about not construction. I'm talking about like an electrician's van or whatever. We have no construction right now.
Part of that construction.
I don't mean to cut you off, but we gotta one at a time, so yeah.
So that's part of the construction issue. I think this is kind of what y'all are getting at, which is like if we remove parking from one side, it's only gonna make it easier for these trucks to keep going down there, whereas it's gonna become a meme and a known thing amongst truckers that their big ass trucks can't fit through there. So hopefully that will decrease by potentially keeping that. But then my third point being is back to your point, Jess, it seems like we should probably hold on having a resolution until we clarify what's actually there, via DOT, and signage and what we can implement. And then the thing that is always gonna be an ongoing thing for every committee and CB, in every committee and every community board, which is enforcement. And the funniest thing is, of course, that the precinct is around the corner. So they know this is happening. It's just kind of
this is one of, I've noticed this block. I mean, it is one of the worst blocks for placard parking, and it's really unbelievable. It's almost every single car on the block is there illegally. And so you can make it any sign you want there, they're gonna park there until we do something about placard parking. So, another plea for us to take on the issue of placard parking.
Suggestion that he had about, by taking that away, the first semi truck then that sees that, they're gonna be radioing their friends, Leonard is now easier to go through.
Yeah.
Again, I really appreciate that effort, but it's not just those trucks. A garbage truck is getting stuck. A bus is getting stuck. Any vehicle that's large will not get through. Just a reminder on that.
Can I just ask you, what has the garbage trucks done for the last 40 years? Because that street has been the same size, the
Did
whole
you
time.
see it? My image is in the deck here of me helping a garbage truck get through. I had to, he literally destroyed a car to get through. He sideswiped the whole car and it was a federal car. We didn't know what to do, but that's what happened.
Is that 20 years they had no parking on that side, so it's probably easier.
Okay.
And it's in the last 10 to 15, 20 years where they allowed it for parts of the
construction. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I think we're all in agreement that this is a problem. Let's do more investigating to find out what the problem is and what our options are. Are we all comfortable with that?
Yeah, that makes
Anyone
sense.
else?
That makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Betty. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Jess, why don't you look at the recommended, just so people can at least think about the various issues. I understand that getting them all explored, but nevertheless, I want to make sure people realize there are 3 different issues. And the last one is, this could be our opportunity finally to ask for restoration of a cobblestone street, because it does seem very tied to the degradation occurring because of these vehicles. I looked it up online and I got the tonnage that leads to damage to cobblestone streets. If you look at some of the pictures that I have included in there, if you go back to one of the early ones, just look straight down on the cobblestone. This is really degraded on this street. It's really degraded.
Can I, the first.
Going back.
Can you go back, Jess?
Oh, control.
That one.
Keep going back. No, wait. Go back for a picture. I know everybody else, but just humor me to finish up so you can see the destruction. Keep going back and look straight down the bottom. It's not this picture. Give me the control and I'll go back.
It's driving
I
crazy.
can't listen. It's not this one. No, it's just that it's the block looking straight down.
Yeah.
Where it says Google
That
Maps.
one you can see some damage. Look
Between
at
the
the
white
big
and the
bump
red,
there.
the white and the black vehicle right at the forefront.
We get it. We
know.
get it. We all like have walked the street too, so we know.
But that's why this is also an opportunity to go after that problem. Because like I said, I looked up to see what the weights are specific to create this very damage. And these big trucks are the ones that easily are included in that and would be dangerous for the street anyway.
The last slide.
Yeah, okay, so Mitch had a question about,
Mitch had a back, yeah,
I
therefore.
thought there were the three paragraphs of, so the first, I mean, I think we're all in agreement on the second and the third one, but I thought we were saying
I don't
that.
think we can.
We're not up to a
We
resolution.
can do any others, right?
Right, but even the first one shouldn't even be, like, but in general, if it would come up in the future, the second and third one was pretty, I think, was pretty easy. The first one, we're not anywhere near in favor of no standing anytime zone, because that's what we were discussing.
Right, so that's why Jess was saying we need to bring all the tools from Kate back to the discussion to decide what the right solution is.
Yeah, I honestly don't.
Can I ask for one more solution to consider when we do that, which is street trees, expanding the sidewalk on Leonard? Those are very narrow sidewalks.
Amazing.
Right, so instead of allowing, just no parking and enforcement and placards, can we expand those sidewalks? They're not 8 feet. If we could get a curb extension on one side, that would maybe help solve that problem. Even if we did the street tree, just the bump out for trees or something.
Yes.
Would that be enough for the car to go through?
Yes, because it can be narrower than that.
So the
Love
challenge
you,
with
Carrie.
that, you would have, I would have to.
Planet boxes on the
Madeline.
street. I did.
It's really hard for you to hear Madeline, but somebody else is speaking.
Yeah,
It's
sorry.
so
Oh, I
hard
didn't
on-
hear. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It's okay.
So the challenge with that is that it would have to be a capital project, so any changes we would be doing, so like the curb and like the size of the sidewalk, plus the complication of having to restore the cobblestones on top of that, so that would be something like a much more long-term project, and I'm not sure with, other priorities and funding, where that would fall as a priority.
Understood.
But we can do parklets. Parklets are a thing, right? Madeline actually has beautiful containers in front of her building. They're a great street tree container. You can put containerized trees. If you designate those parking spots for containerized trees, those can go right on top of the cobblestone, and you can green that you can green that, even if you couldn't do a capital project.
Let's bring that back. I think the challenge we would have with that is if we're creating a space that's, say that's like a pedestrian, like sidewalk extension that's not actually built out with concrete or a curb. I think the challenge there would be accessibility. We really are, we try not to install things that will be inaccessible from people like stepping off the sidewalk where like if you're using mobility device, how would you access that safely and get up and down from there?
Kate, can a co-op board be an open streets partner?
I believe so, yeah.
Just throw that.
Yeah.
Tammy has her hand raised.
Eric also had his hand up.
Instead of no standing, have it no parking. That would solve the same thing. Why the difference?
No standing is a more strict regulation, so no parking, you could still pull over, drop someone off, maybe idle for a few minutes without really getting a ticket, because you can still have the car. I know like people, idling is illegal, but this is how people use it, and no standing, you shouldn't even be stopping there.
But there's a need for vehicles to stop, make a delivery, or, you know, just wait, let's say you're waiting to pick up somebody. But with the no parking, that means you can't leave your vehicle, and then if a vehicle comes, a large vehicle wants to pass, then you'll be compelled to move. So this gives you utility as well as making sure no one parks. Yeah. There's a there's a difference, right? So that, it just means you can't leave your car, yeah.
And the goal with no standing is ideally that the curb is clear. And that's like part of the issue is that the curb isn't clear now, so it's more difficult for the larger truckers to plug in through.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Tammy had her hand raised.
Okay, Tammy, you wanna go?
Yeah, please. Thanks so much. One thing I'd love, Madeline, I really appreciate you coming. This is awesome. We don't want to be discouraging. We want to be encouraging and start to take small steps. I would like to see, though, more input. I don't know, did you provide a petition from the people who all live on that block and the businesses and get them to sign in on this kind of a thing with the removal of it? That's one thing that I would like to see versus, I understand the problem. I've seen the pictures, but I'd like to see a wider variety of signatories coming to the community board to ask for action. Just putting
Okay,
that out there.
yeah, that was like last minute where I got invited to do this, and then, you know, I've been away. So I will, I have every board president on this block because I'm board president of my building. And so I'll just reach out to them and talk. I feel like they might be really happy to hear about one of the solutions from one of your members here, potentially.
So we don't want to prescribe a solution. We want to get everybody
The
on the block
problem.
to say that they, you know, kind of don't want that.
Yeah,
I
okay,
do think that everybody on the block needs to report 311 because placards are not allowed to park in a no standing zone. They can park in a no parking zone. Oftentimes they do. I believe Betty can correct me, but I know that on a no standing zone, they are not allowed to be there. So I would report and photo every single solitary one of them every single day under placard corruption, social media the crap out of them and get them out the neighborhood. That's one.
Terry,
Two,
radicalized, I love it.
you can radicalize the neighbors, man. Let's go. The other thing is, I do think that we could write to Waze and Google, and you know, if anybody knows anybody who works at Google, I think we do, to see if we can get Leonard Street taken off, you know, or a note that goes in that app that says cobblestone streets, no trucks, things like that. I think that is a very helpful thing that could potentially help for the errant trucks who don't know. It's not going to help your construction guys, your local truckers who know that street and know that they're using it basically to get around the truck routes because the truck routes are full of cars, and especially with the amount of snow and things like that. But I do think that it is a good idea to do both of those, you know, all three. Come back to us with wide level support. Kate has already said that they're going to be looking at what signs are missing off that street and see if they can get more signs, if, you know, wherever they need to be. And then really we need to ask NYPD to do enforcement, period. I don't care if they're placards. You know how I feel about placards. I'd tow every single one of them if I could. But, you know,
so what's that?
That's my feedback. My feedback is we should contact NYPD as a board. And then we should consult and ask Google, who actually I believe owns Waze at this point, what we can do to limit through the apps that street.
I think it's sounds as though we've gotten to the point where I think we should take on the issue of placard parking again. It's been several years. It kind of failed last time, but I think there's so many proposals out there and efforts out there. I think we should bring it up again.
I am
And
so
so-
down with that because just
Talk
to
about it.
help our friends at Open Plans there, Streets Blog did a report several years ago that talked about the problems in CB1 when we worked on this, which is one of the dumb reasons why I ended up on CB1 was the frustration here about placards.
Okay, good.
And
That for-
the traffic issues in Lower Manhattan from Canal Street South were some ridiculous amount of like 40 to 60% due to the glut of placard and government cars. That hasn't
Yep.
changed. It's just gotten worse. So I'd love that.
Okay, last word on this? Go ahead, Brendan.
So I might not need to say it. I was going to say, motion to limit discussion to 5 minutes, but then I'll add, I think she confuses my competition every time. I work at Meta.
Oh, I know you do. I'm not talking about you, my darling. I'm talking about a former board member who's over there. He used to be our co-chair of land use.
So this will be tabled for now and it's on our radar. Thank you, Madeline. Betty, do you have some news for us, some updates?
Thanks,
You
Madeline.
wanna go?
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'll be in touch, Madeline.
Thank you.
Miss Betty. Yeah, I promise I will skip through things very quickly, but you have to at least see the
Okay.
ending slide or two. Yeah, just so you know, because you may have heard the governor speak about this. She's planning on pushing the super speeders through with her budget. Next, because the legislators haven't been passing it. We do know that the NYC is going to quadruple the number of intersections with red light cameras, but though they haven't announced where. But they're going to be putting them in 50 new installations a week, eventually getting to 600 more intersections over 10 months. Okay, next. You can keep going. The MTA going to use AI monitoring for thousands of cameras in the transit system. This will be something interesting to watch as it unfolds. And we'll put Eric on this one to keep track of it. Again, Governor Hochul's making a lot of announcement. She's unveiling a proposal. They're putting forward legislation at the state level around autonomous vehicles. And the legislation they're talking about excludes New York City because they're going to let New York City DOT kind of handle it on its own. On the other hand, in California, it's been very hard. San Diego is suing California because they don't want Waymo, and because of state law authorizing it, they can't stop it. So we'll have to see what happens. Anyway, just so you know, there is some movement. But yeah, you keep going. Promise I'll be fast.
More?
Yeah, we're starting to get some, there's money now in New York City taxi medallions. You can see that they're going up much, that in fact, there's investors going in now and buying up more and more of the medallions. So what's the difference going to be between a TLC and a taxi? Very little. I mean, Uber and Lyft, you can call them corporate all you want, but how different are they going to be from taxis? This says they're investing. 22% growth investment is a good one. Next. Oh, this is kind of interesting. Hop Wheels. If you remember, they're the cabinets. They have the batteries in them for the e-bikes, where people subscribe and they can just switch out their battery when it needs to be charged. The two guys that started that said, no, we really don't like the generators on those food carts. So I wonder if our Pop Wheels bike batteries would work and power them instead. This is not for cooking. The cooking is still done on propane. All the lighting and everything else is done with generators. And if you go to the next one, they are playing with it and trying to work out a solution for their e-bike batteries to work and operate the power on these and get rid of the generators, which will be interesting to watch over the next couple months. Yeah, and for those who keep saying, oh, we'll get rid of helicopters because we're going to have all these eVTOLs, we said, are they going to make enough of them? This is an announcement. Joby, which is one of the big ones, has just opened more space in Ohio. Again, the production rate's still going to be limited by the number of places that want to buy them internationally from a really small number of vendors. But anyway, that's it for them. And for the absurd, someone who wants to go to Guinness Book of World Records, he broke it with a garbage. garbage can 55 miles an hour. Next. Going to the ridiculous. And AM New York, which had they shouldn't do this, but they had kind of an Olympic competition around beating the new gates to the subway station to see who could get over them fastest. Next. Hey, and because it's Valentine's Day, even at bad times, there's always a laugh.
You're so romantic, Betty.
Well, you have to leave. We have to leave with a laugh after intense things. So, yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Good work today. Thank you, Betty, Tammy, everyone online.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Good night,
guys.
everyone.
Appreciate you. Good night.
Night.
Thanks, everyone.
There's no vending machine.